Welcome. I'm Magnus, and I bring you horror stories to help you relax, or maybe to keep you up at night. Tell us where you're from. Are there spooky forests nearby? If you're a fan of scary stories, subscribe and drop a like. Get cozy, and let's begin. My name's Everett Mercer, 28 years old, originally from Columbus, Ohio. I've always been drawn to places most people avoid: abandoned buildings, forgotten landmarks, places with history seeping from their weathered foundations. That fascination is what led me to drive 6 hours to the Allegheny National Forest in northwestern Pennsylvania last October. I discovered online forums discussing an old fire lookout tower deep in the forest that had been decommissioned decades ago, but never demolished. The tower had been on my urban exploration bucket list for months. Something about standing where vigilant rangers once watched for distant smoke plumes across the vast Pennsylvania woodland captivated my imagination. I packed my modified SUV with camping gear, food for 3 days, and my photography equipment. My vehicle was perfect for these excursions. I converted the back into a comfortable sleeping area with storage underneath for all my gear. Most explorers would set up camp near these abandoned structures, but I preferred to sleep inside them when possible, to fully absorb their forgotten stories. As I drove through the winding forest roads, fall colors blanketing the landscape in burning oranges and crimsons, I couldn't shake an unusual feeling of being watched. The deeper I ventured into the forest, the more the sensation intensified. I dismissed it as excitement mixed with isolation. Cell service had disappeared an hour back, and I hadn't passed another vehicle in nearly as long. The lookout tower wasn't on any tourist maps. It had been deliberately scrubbed from official Forest Service documentation after its abandonment in 1978. According to my research, the tower had been abruptly decommissioned following an incident involving the last station ranger. Details were scarce, but rumors suggested the ranger had reported increasingly bizarre wildlife behavior before radio contact was permanently lost. The official report cited structural concerns as the reason for abandonment, but the online forums buzzed with theories about what really happened. I dismissed most as creative fiction, but now, as shadows lengthened across my path, those stories crept back into my thoughts. I finally spotted it through a clearing, the skeletal silhouette of the tower rising above the tree line, its metal frame dark against the dimming sky. The structure looked remarkably intact for something abandoned for over 40 years. The wooden stairs zigzagging up to the observation cabin seemed weathered but solid. Standing at the base, I craned my neck upward, counting 5 flights leading to the cabin perched nearly 70 feet above. A mixture of exhilaration and unease washed over me. The tower seemed to reach toward the darkening sky like a bony finger pointing accusingly at the heavens. I parked my SUV at the base of the tower and grabbed my backpack, headlamp, and camera. The evening air had grown surprisingly cold, carrying the earthy scent of decaying leaves and something else, something metallic and unpleasant that I couldn't quite identify. The first flight of stairs creaked loudly under my weight, the sound echoing through the silent forest. Each step produced its own unique groan, as if the tower were singing a discordant welcome. Halfway up, I paused to catch my breath and survey the surrounding forest, now cast in twilight shadow. The observation cabin was more intact than I'd expected. The door hung awkwardly on one hinge, and years of exposure had weathered the walls, but the structure remained sound. Inside, dust covered every surface, and dead leaves had collected in the corners. An old desk stood against one wall, its surface scratched with markings I couldn't make out in the fading light. The windows, surprisingly unbroken, provided a panoramic view of the forest stretching to the horizon in every direction. As darkness fell, I set up my sleeping bag in the center of the cabin, away from the walls where water damage appeared worst. I hadn't anticipated the isolation hitting me so hard. As night descended completely, the forest became an impenetrable wall of darkness beyond the windows. The beam of my headlamp seemed feeble against such absolute blackness. I'd explored plenty of abandoned places before, but something about this tower felt different, wrong somehow. The walls seemed to amplify every sound. The wind whistling through cracks, the structure's subtle swaying, and occasionally, something that sounded disturbingly like footsteps on the stairs below. I told myself it was just the tower settling, but couldn't shake the feeling that I'd made a terrible mistake in coming here. I woke with a start around 3 a.m., disoriented and immediately aware something had changed. The temperature had plummeted, my breath visible in frosty clouds before my face. My headlamp had died, but moonlight now streamed through the windows, casting harsh shadows across the cabin floor. That's when I noticed the markings on the desk weren't random scratches as I'd initially thought. They formed words, frantically carved into the wood. They come at night. They climb. A chill that had nothing to do with the cold ran through me. Trying to calm my racing heart, I convinced myself some previous visitor had left the message as a prank. Urban exploration sites often attracted those who enjoyed scaring others. But as I fumbled for my backup flashlight, I heard it, a distinct, rhythmic creaking on the stairs below. The sound was unmistakable. Something heavy was climbing the tower, deliberately placing weight on every third step. I froze, listening as the noise steadily approached, growing louder with each passing moment. There was no mistaking it for the wind or settling timber now. I scrambled to the window, desperate to see what was coming, but the stairs disappeared into darkness below. My mind raced through possibilities. Another explorer, forest rangers checking the tower, maybe even a bear that had somehow managed the steep stairs. None felt right. The creaking paused at what I estimated was the third landing. Then came a new sound, a low, wet breathing that seemed to rattle in an impossibly large chest. I backed away from the door, which now seemed terribly flimsy, and pressed myself against the far wall. For what felt like hours, I remained motionless, hardly daring to breathe. The thing on the stairs didn't move either, as if we were locked in some terrible standoff. Occasionally, the breathing would intensify, followed by a scraping sound against the metal framework. When the eastern sky finally began to lighten, the breathing suddenly stopped. The creaking resumed, but now moving downward, retreating. By the time full dawn broke, silence had returned. Still, I waited another hour before finding the courage to approach the door. What I saw on the stairs made my blood run cold. The wooden steps were marked with deep gouges, as if something with massive claws had dug into them for purchase while climbing. More disturbing were the dark, viscous stains that trailed along the railing. Too thick to be water, too dark to be rust. I quickly retreated into the cabin, my mind reeling. The rational part of me argued for immediate departure, but something else, curiosity or perhaps foolish pride, resisted. I'd driven hours to explore this place. Was I really going to let strange noises and possibly old damage chase me away? As daylight fully illuminated the cabin, I noticed details I'd missed in the darkness. The desk contained not just the carved warning, but a half-destroyed logbook. Most pages had been torn out, but those remaining contained increasingly erratic entries from Ranger Thomas Blackwood, dated summer 1978. The final legible entry read, "They're getting bolder. Found claw marks reaching 20 feet up neighboring trees. Whatever they are, they've learned to climb. God help me if they figure out the tower is more than just another tree." The entry ended mid-sentence with a jagged line, as if the writer had been interrupted. I spent the morning photographing the tower and surroundings, trying to focus on my original purpose rather than my growing unease. Near midday, I discovered something peculiar. A series of trees surrounding the tower bore deep vertical scarring, similar to the gouges on the stairs. Some marks looked decades old, while others appeared disturbingly fresh. The pattern extended in a rough circle around the tower, as if marking territory. I recalled reading that black bears sometimes claw trees to mark territory, but these marks reached impossibly high, 15 to 20 feet up the trunks. As afternoon wore on, I found myself constantly checking the time, anxiety mounting as I thought about spending another night in the tower. The rational decision would be to leave, but the nearest town was over 2 hours away, and I wasn't confident navigating the unmarked forest roads after dark. Besides, a stubborn part of me refused to be chased away by what could simply be forest wildlife and an overactive imagination. I decided to stay one more night, but sleep in my SUV instead of the tower. I'd lock the doors, keep my keys and phone close, and leave at first light. While gathering my gear from the tower, I discovered something I'd overlooked, a small metal box tucked beneath the desk. Inside was a cassette tape labeled only with the date, July 16th, 78, and the initials TB. Thomas Blackwood, presumably. I had no way to play it, but I pocketed it nonetheless, thinking I could find a player back in Columbus. As I descended the stairs, the forest had fallen unnaturally silent. No birds, no insects, nothing but the sound of my own cautious footsteps. The sun was already dipping toward the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to reach for the tower like grasping fingers. That night in my SUV became the longest of my life. I'd parked about 50 yards from the tower, facing the access road, ready for a quick departure if necessary. As darkness fell completely, I locked the doors, reclined my seat slightly, and tried to convince myself to get some rest. The forest outside my windows transformed into an impenetrable wall of blackness. My flashlight's beam seemed to be swallowed by the darkness rather than penetrating it. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of the tower in the distance and my own shallow breathing. Around midnight, the temperature plummeted again, frost forming on my windows despite the early autumn season. I started the engine briefly for heat, but the sound seemed obscenely loud in the stillness, so I shut it off after just a few minutes. That's when I noticed it, movement at the base of the tower. At first, I thought it was just shadows playing tricks on my eyes, but then I saw it clearly. A large, hunched figure circling the structure. Its movements were wrong somehow, too fluid for its size, almost insect-like in the way it seemed to glide rather than walk. I fumbled for my camera, but by the time I'd switched it on, the figure had disappeared around the tower's base. Heart pounding, I watched as more figures emerged from the tree-line. 3, then 5, then too many to count. They converged on the tower, their forms indistinct in the darkness, but unmistakably large and moving with that same unsettling fluidity. I held my breath, pressing myself lower in my seat, irrationally afraid they would sense my presence despite the distance. What happened next defies explanation. The figures began to climb the tower, not using the stairs, but scaling the outer framework with impossible speed and agility, their elongated limbs finding purchase where no handholds should exist. I watched in horrified fascination as they reached the observation cabin, swarming over it like ants on prey. The moonlight briefly illuminated one creature as it paused outside a window. Its body was wrong in ways my mind struggled to process. Unnaturally thin and twisted, with too many joints in its limbs, its skin appeared slick and mottled in the pale light. Its head swiveled with impossible flexibility as it pressed what might have been a face against the glass, as if searching for something inside. I realized with sickening clarity that they were looking for me. A sound like splintering would echoed across the clearing as they forced their way into the cabin. I started the engine without thinking, the noise immediately drawing their attention. Multiple heads swiveled in my direction, and I caught the reflection of too many eyes catching the light from my vehicle. One creature detached from the group, dropping from the tower with impossible grace and landing on all fours. It straightened to a height that seemed to shift between 7 and 9 feet, its proportions constantly, subtly changing as if its form couldn't decide what it wanted to be. It took a step toward my SUV, then another, each movement a fluid contradiction of what human anatomy should allow. I threw the vehicle into drive and slammed the accelerator, tires spinning on the forest floor before finding traction. As I sped toward the access road, my headlights swept across more figures emerging from the trees, their forms briefly illuminated before diving away from the light. I caught glimpses of elongated limbs, glistening skin, and features that resembled faces only in the most rudimentary sense. Hollows where eyes should be, gaping vertical slits that might have been mouths. The forest road was treacherous in daylight. Navigating it at night, while fleeing for my life, was nearly impossible. Branches scraped against my windows as I swerved to avoid obstacles, the headlights revealing only a few feet of path ahead. In my rearview mirror, movement flashed between trees. They were following, keeping pace with my vehicle despite its speed. One suddenly appeared directly in my path, rising to its full height with arms outstretched. I swerved violently, nearly rolling the SUV before regaining control. The creature didn't dive away as the others had. Instead, it reached out with impossibly long fingers that left smeared handprints on my passenger window as I passed. The road seemed endless, each turn looking identical to the last in the darkness. My gas gauge was dropping alarmingly fast, either from my speed or something worse. The engine began to sputter, and panic clawed at my throat. I was still miles from the main road, surrounded by dense forest and whatever these things were. As the SUV lost power, I grabbed my backpack with my wallet, phone, and the cassette tape. The vehicle rolled to a stop, headlights dimming as the battery failed. In the sudden silence, I heard them, rustling movements converging from all sides, that wet, rattling breathing growing closer. I had seconds to decide what to do next, knowing with terrible certainty that staying in the vehicle meant death. I made my decision in an instant. I couldn't stay in the vehicle. Whatever these things were, they'd find a way in, and I'd be trapped. I grabbed my backpack, flashlight, and the hunting knife I kept in the glove compartment. Taking a deep breath, I flung open the driver's door and bolted into the forest, away from the road. My flashlight beam bounced wildly ahead of me as I crashed through underbrush, branches scratching my face and tearing at my clothes. Behind me, I heard scrabbling sounds as the creatures discovered my empty vehicle, followed by something like frustrated howling that raised the hair on my neck. Running through a forest at night is suicide under normal circumstances. Nearly impossible to see obstacles, deadly drops, or disorienting terrain. But the alternative was worse. I stumbled forward, using my free arm to shield my face from branches while desperately trying to maintain some sense of direction. The moon provided meager light through the canopy, just enough to make out basic shapes and avoid running headlong into trees. After several minutes of panicked flight, I paused behind a massive oak, pressing my back against it while fighting to control my breathing. The forest had gone silent again, too silent. No creatures pursuing, no sounds of movement, nothing but my own thundering heartbeat in my ears. This wasn't reassuring. It felt like the silence before an ambush. I clicked off my flashlight, letting my eyes adjust to the darkness. Slowly, shapes around me became more distinct. Trees, rocks, the uneven forest floor. And something else, a subtle wrongness to some of the shadows, a quality of stillness too perfect to be natural. They were surrounding me, using the darkness as camouflage, waiting. A desperate plan formed in my mind. These things seemed to avoid direct light. My flashlight alone wasn't powerful enough to keep them at bay, but fire might be. With shaking hands, I dug through my backpack for the emergency kit I always carried. Waterproof matches, a lighter, and petroleum jelly-soaked cotton balls I kept as fire starters. I gathered whatever dry brush and twigs I could find near the base of the tree, working as silently as possible. The shadows around me remained unnaturally still, but I sensed their patience waning. Just as I struck the match, I heard movement, deliberate steps approaching from behind. The small flame illuminated my trembling fingers as I touched it to the cotton ball, which ignited with a bright flare. In that brief flash of light, I saw them clearly for the first time, at least a dozen figures positioned in a loose circle around me. The creature nearest to me recoiled from the sudden light, its face contorting in what might have been pain. Without hesitation, I touched the burning cotton ball to the gathered brush, which caught immediately, flames licking upward to create a small but growing circle of light. The fire created a protective barrier, forcing the creatures to maintain distance. In its flickering light, I could see them more clearly. Their bodies reminded me of emaciated humans, but with proportions all wrong, limbs too long, joints too numerous, fingers ending in curved, translucent claws. Their skin wasn't skin at all, but something moist and reflective, constantly shifting in subtle patterns like oil on water. Most disturbing were their faces, featureless except for recessed areas where eyes should be and vertical slits that occasionally opened to reveal rows of needle-like teeth. I knew the fire wouldn't last long. The gathered brush would burn out quickly, and I couldn't stay in one place until dawn. I needed a more permanent solution. That's when I remembered an old ranger station marked on my forest map, perhaps 2 miles east. If it still existed, it might offer shelter with walls and doors, not just light. Working quickly, I found a sturdy branch, wrapped my shirt around one end, and used it to create a makeshift torch using the remaining fire starters. The creatures retreated further as I brandished it, their movements agitated and jerky now. With my torch held high, I began moving carefully eastward, checking my compass repeatedly to maintain course. The creatures followed at a distance, keeping to the shadows beyond my circle of light. I walked for what seemed like hours, constantly fighting the urge to run, knowing that if I tripped or my torch went out, they would be on me instantly. The forest seemed endless, each tree identical to the last, and doubt began to creep in. Had I misread the map? Was I walking in circles? The torch was burning down alarmingly fast, less than half remaining. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm me, the trees thinned, and I spotted a small clearing ahead with the unmistakable silhouette of a building, the ranger station. It was small, little more than a cabin really, but its solid walls represented safety. I approached cautiously, torch still raised, watching for any movement around the structure. The station appeared abandoned but intact, windows boarded up, a padlocked door the only visible entrance. The creatures had grown bolder as my torch diminished, drawing closer, their movements becoming more erratic and aggressive. With the last of my strength, I smashed the padlock with a rock, the sound echoing through the clearing. The creatures reacted immediately, surging forward with inhuman speed. I flung open the door and threw myself inside, slamming it shut just as something heavy crashed against it. Using a nearby chair, I wedged it under the doorknob, knowing it wouldn't hold for long. The interior was pitch black, but I didn't dare waste my dying torch searching for lights. Instead, I fumbled along the wall until I found what I was looking for, a breaker box. With trembling fingers, I flipped every switch. Miraculously, lights flickered on, dim emergency lighting powered by what must have been solar batteries or a generator. The sudden illumination pushed back the darkness, revealing a dusty but intact interior. Radio equipment, maps, and various supplies filled the single-room station. Most importantly, the windows, though boarded, didn't seem to have gaps large enough for those things to enter. The creatures outside went wild at the light, throwing themselves against the walls and door, their movements creating a terrible cacophony of scratching and thumping. I collapsed into a chair, exhausted but momentarily safe. The ranger station's radio equipment looked outdated but potentially functional. If I could get it working, maybe I could call for help. I moved toward the desk, examining the setup with growing hope. The main radio was a heavy, military-style unit with numerous dials and switches. A logbook lay open beside it, the last entry dated October 2nd, 1978, 4 months after Thomas Blackwood's final tower log. This entry was from a different ranger. Final sweep of Zone 4 complete. TB's body still not recovered. Tower decommissioned as ordered. God forgive us for not believing him. My hands shook as I read those words, the implications hitting me like a physical blow. Outside, the assault on the station had changed, become more methodical, focused. The creatures now seemed to be testing different entry points, looking for weaknesses. I heard scratching at specific places along the walls and roof, concentrated efforts rather than random attacks. They were intelligent, coordinated. I tried the radio, adjusting dials and speaking into the microphone, but received only static in response. Either it wasn't working, or there was no one left to monitor these frequencies. As dawn approached, the attacks gradually subsided, just as they had at the tower. The creatures were nocturnal, retreating with the light. When morning finally came, I cautiously opened the door, half expecting to find the creatures waiting despite the sunlight. Instead, I found only evidence of their presence. Deep claw marks in the wooden door and walls, and that same viscous residue I'd seen on the tower stairs. The clearing around the station was silent and still, no sign of movement in the surrounding forest. I knew this was my chance to escape, to make it back to civilization before nightfall. But I also knew I couldn't leave empty-handed, not after what I'd experienced. People needed to know what was happening in these woods. I searched the station thoroughly, gathering whatever might serve as evidence. The logbook, photographs of the claw marks, and a sealed metal container labeled TB evidence that I found locked in a desk drawer. I broke it open to find a small voice recorder, several film canisters, and a handwritten journal. There wasn't time to examine them now. I stuffed everything into my backpack alongside Thomas Blackwood's cassette tape. According to the map on the wall, the main forest road was only 3 miles north. If I moved quickly, I could reach it before noon. The hike was tense but uneventful, every snapping twig or rustling leaf sending my heart racing. When I finally reached the main road, I nearly wept with relief. I followed it eastward, thumb out whenever a vehicle approached. After an hour, a Forest Service truck stopped. The ranger inside looked at me with concern, taking in my scratched face, torn clothes, and wild eyes. "You okay, buddy? You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't know where to begin, what to tell him that wouldn't sound completely insane. I settled for a partial truth. I got lost hiking. My car broke down off one of the access roads. He drove me to the ranger station in Bradford, where I called for a tow and hotel room. That night, safely behind locked doors with every light blazing, I examined what I'd gathered. The journal belonged to Thomas Blackwood and detailed his growing awareness of something wrong in the forest surrounding his tower. The voice recorder contained brief entries corresponding to journal dates, his voice growing more fearful with each recording. The film canisters held developed photographs, mostly blurry shots of trees and darkness, but one showed a partial image of what I'd seen, a distorted, elongated limb reaching for the camera. After returning to Columbus, I tried contacting various authorities, the Forest Service, environmental agencies, even local news outlets. No one took me seriously. The evidence I'd gathered was dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications. Blackwood's journal was written off as the ravings of an isolated man suffering from psychological breakdown. The photographs were too blurry to be conclusive. Even the cassette tape, when I finally found a player, contained mostly static with Blackwood's terrified voice occasionally breaking through. "They're coming up again. They know I'm here now. They've learned what I am, and they're hungry." 3 months passed. I tried to return to normal life, to forget what I'd seen, but the nightmares wouldn't stop. Visions of elongated limbs reaching through darkness, of oil-slick skin reflecting moonlight, of vertical mouths opening to reveal impossible teeth. I became obsessed with researching similar incidents, discovering patterns of disappearances in the Allegheny forest dating back decades. Most were attributed to hiking accidents or animal attacks, but the details often didn't add up. Bodies rarely recovered. Search parties finding abandoned vehicles. Strange marks on trees. Last week, I received an unmarked envelope containing a single newspaper clipping, a small article about 3 hikers gone missing in the Allegheny National Forest, last seen near an access road not far from where I'd parked my SUV. The article mentioned unusual claw marks found on their abandoned vehicle. There was no note, no indication of who had sent it. But the message was clear. Whatever I'd encountered was still there, still hunting. I've spent the past 7 days organizing my evidence, writing this account, and preparing to return. Not to the tower, never there again, but to the forest edge, armed with cameras, lights, and people who believe me. Tomorrow, we leave for Pennsylvania. 5 of us, 2 cryptozoologists, a wildlife biologist, a documentary filmmaker, and myself. We've agreed to stay together, to never venture out after dark, to keep lights with us at all times. But as I pack my gear, I can't shake the feeling that I'm making a terrible mistake, that some things should remain undocumented, unexplored, that by returning, I'm leading more people to their deaths. The creatures in those woods have had months to spread, to learn, to adapt. They climbed a tower once to find prey. What else have they learned to do? And worse, what if they've learned to follow their prey beyond the forest boundaries? What if, even now, one waits outside my window, watching with hollow eyes, waiting for darkness to fall? Sweat beads on my forehead as I haul my backpack up the rocky trail in the Allegheny National Forest, Pennsylvania. I'm Isidore Callahan, 32 years old, from Buffalo, New York. The air's crisp, biting at my fingertips. I've been craving this solo camping trip for months, a chance to unplug, to breathe. My old pickup's parked at the trailhead, loaded with gear I probably don't need. The abandoned fire tower, I'm headed for, looms in my mind, a rusty skeleton I saw on a hiking forum. It's creepy, sure, but that's the draw. I'm no stranger to roughing it. Grew up hunting with my dad. But this feels different, like I'm chasing something I can't name. The trail's a beast, all roots and loose stones. My boots crunch against the earth, and I'm already regretting the extra water bottles weighing me down. I pass a faded sign warning about bears, but I've got my spray, my knife. I'm not worried. Yet. The tower's supposed to be a few miles in, off an old ranger path nobody uses anymore. I'd heard it was decommissioned in the 90s, left to rot. Perfect for a guy like me, who'd rather sleep in a ruin than a crowded campground with screaming kids. My phone's got no signal out here, Not that I expected one. I left a note for my sister, Aloan, back in Buffalo, saying I'd be gone a week. She thinks I'm nuts for doing this alone, but she's got her own life. 2 kids, a husband, the works. Me? I've got a studio apartment and a job fixing cars. This trip's my reset button. I stop to catch my breath, leaning against a pine. The forest smells sharp, alive. Somewhere, a bird screams, and I laugh it off. Just nature, right? I think about the folks I met at the gas station in Kane, the last town before the forest. A cashier named Meriwether, with a lazy eye, told me to watch for weirdos out here. I brushed it off, small-town paranoia. But his words stick, like gum on my shoe. I shake it off and keep moving. The trail narrows, and I spot the tower's silhouette through the trees, jagged against the dusk. It's taller than I pictured, maybe 100 feet, all rusted steel and broken windows. My legs burn as I climb the final stretch. The tower's base is overgrown with weeds, and the ladder looks like it's one storm away from collapsing. I test the first rung. It creaks but holds. My heart's pounding, not from the hike, but from the vibe this place gives off. It's horror movie quiet, like the forest holding its breath. I sling my pack tighter and start climbing, telling myself it's just a cool spot to crash for a few nights. Halfway up, I glance down. Bad idea. The ground's a long way off, and the ladder sways like it's mocking me. I focus on the platform above, where I'll set up my sleeping bag. The wind picks up, whistling through the tower's gaps. I'm no scaredy cat, but this place feels wrong, like I'm trespassing. I reach the top and hoist myself onto the platform. It's a small room, maybe 10 by 10, with shattered glass and graffiti everywhere. Names, dates, weird symbols. I drop my pack and take stock. The view's unreal, miles of trees stretching into the dark. But it's unsettling, too, like I'm the only person left on Earth. I dig out my flashlight and scan the room. There's a rusty desk, a broken chair, and something scratched into the wall. Don't look down. My stomach twists. Kids messing around, probably. Still, it's disturbing. I set up my sleeping bag, trying to ignore the chill creeping up my spine. As night falls, I cook a quick meal on my camp stove. Beans and rice, nothing fancy. The tower groans under me, metal shifting in the wind. I tell myself it's normal, just an old structure settling. But I keep my knife close, just in case. Meriwether's warning pops into my head again. Weirdos. I laugh, but it's forced. The forest is pitch black now, swallowing everything beyond my flashlight's beam. I crawl into my sleeping bag, exhausted but wired. The tower feels alive, creaking and swaying like it's got a pulse. I stare at the ceiling, where more graffiti swirls in the shadows. My eyes are heavy, but sleep's a long way off. Something about this place keeps me on edge, like I'm not alone up here. I grip my flashlight tighter, telling myself it's just my imagination running wild. The tower's creaks wake me before dawn, like it's trying to shake me loose. I'm Isidore Callahan, still 32, still questioning my life choices up here in this rusty cage. My sleeping bag's damp from condensation, and my back aches from the hard floor. I sit up, rubbing my eyes, and notice my flashlight's rolled into a corner, its beam flickering like it's on its last legs. Great. I grab it, smack it against my palm, and it steadies. The graffiti on the walls looks creepier in the gray light. Don't look down seems to pulse. I tell myself it's just paint, but it's horror-level unsettling. I dig through my pack for breakfast, but my stove's acting up. The gas hisses, then sputters out. I fiddle with it, cursing under my breath. No hot coffee today. I settle for a granola bar, chewing slowly to make it last. Outside, the forest is foggy, trees fading into a white haze. It's quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind. My gut twists, but I chalk it up to being hungry and tired. I'm not some rookie camper freaking out over nothing. My plan was to hike a loop trail today, but the fog's thick enough to lose the path. I weigh my options, stay put or risk getting turned around out there. I decide to stick around the tower, maybe explore its lower levels. Bad call number 1. The ladder's shakier going down, each step a gamble. Halfway, I notice scratches on the rungs, deep, like claw marks. Could be animals, but it's disturbing. I keep moving, telling myself it's just old damage. At the base, I find a rusted hatch I missed yesterday, half buried in dirt. It's padlocked, but the lock's busted. My curiosity gets the better of me. I pry it open, and a sour stench hits me. Mold, maybe something worse. Inside's a concrete room, pitch black. My flashlight catches shelves of junk, moldy papers, broken radios, a kid's shoe. My skin crawls. Why is this stuff here? I back out, slamming the hatch harder than I mean to. Back on the platform, I try to shake the creepy vibe. I pull out my journal to sketch the view, but my pencil keeps slipping, drawing jagged lines. I'm jumpy, and I hate it. To distract myself, I check my gear, noticing my water's lower than it should be. Did I drink that much? I'm careful with rations, always have been. It's a small thing, but it nags at me, like a horror movie where the details don't add up. The fog doesn't lift by noon, and I'm restless. I decide to climb higher, check the tower's roof for a better view. The ladder to the roof is worse than the main one. Rungs missing, bolts loose. I'm halfway up when I hear it. A low hum, like a machine but softer, coming from below. I freeze, heart pounding. It stops as quick as it started. Probably just the wind, I tell myself, but my hands are shaking as I pull myself onto the roof. Up top, the fog's a blanket, swallowing everything. I can't see 10 feet past the railing. I'm about to head down when I spot something carved into the metal floor. Initials, dates, and a word, run. My laugh comes out shaky. Vandals, right? But it's scary how fresh the cuts look, like someone was here yesterday. I take a photo with my camera, trying to act like it's no big deal. My chest feels tight, though, and I'm starting to regret coming alone. I climb back to the platform, my mind racing. Maybe I should pack up, head out tomorrow if the fog clears. But I drove 4 hours to get here, and I'm not ready to quit. I think of Aloan, how she'd roll her eyes if I bailed early. Still, I double-check my knife, make sure it's sharp. The tower groans louder now, like it's annoyed I'm still here. I tell myself I'm overthinking, but doubt's creeping in. By afternoon, I'm pacing the platform, stuck in my head. I keep glancing at the hatch below, wondering what else is down there. My water's definitely lower now. No leaks, no spills. It's not possible, but it's real. My flashlight flickers again, and for a second, I swear the graffiti shifts, like the words are moving. I blink, and it's fine. I'm losing it, aren't I? The forest stays silent, and I can't shake the feeling I've made a terrible mistake staying here. Darkness wraps the tower like a shroud, and I'm wide awake, clutching my knife. I'm Isidore Callahan, 32, stuck in this decaying lookout in Pennsylvania, far from my Buffalo apartment. The air's heavy, pressing on my chest. My flashlight's dead now, no matter how many times I smack it. I'm relying on moonlight filtering through the broken windows, but it's not enough. The graffiti, "Don't look down," feels like it's staring at me. I keep my back to the wall, eyes darting to every corner. Something's off, and it's not just my nerves playing tricks. I hear it again, that hum from earlier, louder now, vibrating through the tower's frame. It's not wind or metal settling. It's deliberate, like a signal. I crawl to the window, peering into the fog. Nothing but trees and shadows. My heart's hammering, and I'm kicking myself for not leaving this morning. I think of horror movies, dumb guys who stay too long. That's me right now, and I hate it. I grip my knife tighter, its weight my only comfort. Then a thud, below me, at the tower's base. Not a branch falling, too heavy, too precise. I freeze, holding my breath. Another thud, closer, like something's climbing the ladder. My mind races. Animals don't climb like that. I inch toward the trapdoor, peering down. The ladder's empty, but the rungs glint wet in the moonlight, like they're smeared with something. My stomach lurches. This is scary, no question, and I'm not sticking around to find out what's down there. I scramble to pack my gear, shoving stuff in my bag without looking. My hands shake so bad, I drop my water bottle. It rolls under the desk. Screw it, I'm not reaching for it. The hum's constant now, buzzing in my skull. I sling my pack on, ready to bolt, when I hear scratching. Not outside, inside, under the floorboards. It's slow, deliberate, like nails dragging through wood. I stomp hard, hoping to scare it off. The scratching stops, but now I'm terrified I've pissed it off. I'm at the trapdoor, 1 foot on the ladder, when the air shifts, colder, thicker. My flashlight's useless, but I swear something moves in the corner, a shape that's not graffiti. I blink, and it's gone. My throat's dry, and I'm muttering to myself, "You're fine, Isidore, just go." But I'm not fine. This place is wrong, like it's alive and hates me. I start down the ladder, each rung creaking louder than the last. Halfway, I glance up. The platform's empty, but I feel watched. At the base, I hit the ground running, aiming for the trail. But the fog's worse, a wall of white choking the forest. My sense of direction shot. I can't find the path. I stumble over roots, branches snagging my jacket like hands. The hum follows me, echoing from everywhere. I think of Meriwether's warning about weirdos, but this isn't human. It's horror straight out of a nightmare. I trip, scraping my knee bloody, and realize my knife's gone, dropped somewhere. I hunker behind a tree, catching my breath. My pack feels heavier, like something's clinging to it. I shake it off, but the feeling sticks. Then I see it. Lights, faint, bobbing through the fog. Not flashlights, not lanterns. They pulse, blue and sickly, floating above the ground. My skin crawls. I've read about will-o-wisps, but this is different, disturbing, like they're hunting. They drift closer, and I'm paralyzed, torn between hiding and running. I force myself to move, crouching low, weaving through trees. The lights keep pace, never close enough to see clearly. My lungs burn, and I'm cursing every choice that led me here. I think of Aloan, how she'd tell me to get my ass home. I want to, but the forest feels like a trap now, closing in. I spot the tower again. Somehow, I've looped back. It looms, darker than before, like it's waiting for me to screw up again. The hum's deafening, rattling my teeth. I drop to my knees, hands over my ears. The lights are circling now, tighter, and I catch glimpses of shapes within them. Tall, wrong, not human. My voice cracks as I whisper, "This isn't real." But it is. Something's here, and it knows I'm alone. I fumble for my car keys, praying I can find the trailhead. The forest feels alive, and I'm the idiot who walked into its jaws. I'm sprinting through the fog, heart slamming against my ribs. I'm Isidore Callahan, 32, from Buffalo, and I'm in deep shit in this Pennsylvania forest. The tower's behind me, but those blue lights are everywhere, bobbing like they're alive. My boots skid on wet leaves, and I'm gasping, praying I find the trailhead. My pickup's my only shot out of this horror show, but the forest feels like it's twisting, hiding the path. I've lost my knife, my flashlight's dead, and my pack's dragging like it's full of rocks. I don't look back, can't afford to. The hum's a roar now, shaking the ground. Branches claw my face as I crash through underbrush. The lights are closer, their glow stinging my eyes. I duck behind a boulder, chest heaving. For a second, I think I've lost them, but then I hear it. Whispering, not words, just sounds, like static mixed with pain. It's scary as hell, and I'm kicking myself for thinking this trip was a good idea. I fumble for my keys, hands slick with sweat. My truck's maybe a mile off, but in this fog, it could be on the moon. I tell myself to move, to live. I bolt again, weaving between trees. The whispering's louder, like it's inside my skull. I trip over a root, slamming my shoulder into a trunk. Pain shoots through me, but I'm up fast. The lights swarm, and I catch a glimpse, shapes inside. Thin, too tall, moving wrong. My stomach drops. This is a life or death deal, no question. I think of Aloan, how she'd kill me for dying out here. I grit my teeth and push forward, ignoring the blood trickling down my arm. The trailhead's gotta be close. I recognize a split pine I passed yesterday. Hope sparks, but it's short-lived. The ground trembles, and the hum spikes, like a scream. I dive behind a log, dirt smearing my face. The lights hover above, pulsing faster. I'm trapped, and it's disturbing how they seem to know where I am. I crawl, staying low, but something snags my pack. I twist free, leaving my jacket behind. Screw it, freedom's worth more than gear. I'm running blind now, fog choking everything. My lungs burn, and I'm muttering, "Come on, Isidore, don't die." Then I see it. My truck, a shadowy lump through the haze. I almost cry, fumbling with my keys. The lights are right behind me. They're whispering a howl. I unlock the door, dive in, and slam it shut. My hands shake so bad I drop the keys under the seat. The windows fog up, but I swear something's pressing against the glass, smearing it. I fish the keys out, cursing. The engine sputters. Dead battery? No, please. I try again, and it roars to life. Headlights cut through the fog, showing nothing but trees. The lights are gone, but the hum's still there, vibrating the dashboard. I throw the truck into gear, peeling out. Gravel sprays as I fishtail down the access road. My heart's in my throat, and I'm laughing, hysterical, because I'm alive. For now, the road's a blur, twists and turns I barely remember. I keep checking the rear view, expecting those lights to flare up. Nothing yet, but I'm not slowing down. My shoulder throbs, and I'm lightheaded, probably shock. I think of horror stories, how the guy always thinks he's safe, then bam. I shake it off, focusing on the road. The hum's fainter, but it's not gone. It's like this place doesn't want me to leave. I hit a pothole, and the truck lurches. My phone, useless all trip, slides from the passenger seat. I grab it, hoping for a signal. 1 bar, enough to call Alohan? I hesitate, then chuck it back. No time. The fog's thinning, and I see a sign for Kane, the nearest town. Relief hits, but it's shaky. Those shapes, that hum, they're burned into me. I'm not safe, not yet. I'm almost at the highway when I notice the smell, sour, like that hatch under the tower. It's in the truck on my clothes. My stomach twists. Did I bring something with me? I glance at the back seat. Empty, but my skin's crawling. The hum's back, soft, like it's waiting. I floor the gas, desperate for lights, people, anything normal. The forest's still out there, and I know it's not done with me. I'm gripping the wheel, flying down the highway toward Kane. I'm Isidore Callahan, 32, from Buffalo, and I'm not okay. The Allegheny's behind me, but that sour stink's stronger, clogging my throat. My truck's rattling like it's possessed, and the hum's back, low and mean. I'm shaking, telling myself I'm free, but it's a lie. Those lights, those shapes, they're part of me now, like a horror I can't shake. My shoulder's bleeding through my shirt, and I'm dizzy, but stopping's not an option. I need people, safety, anything to make this stop. Kane's lights flicker ahead, a gas station's neon sign cutting the dark. I pull in, tires screeching. The clerk, Meriwether, from before, stares as I stumble inside, babbling about lights and noises. He's calm, too calm, offering me water. I chug it, but his eyes keep flicking to my truck. It's disturbing, like he knows something. I ask to use the phone, but he says it's down. My gut screams to leave, but I'm too wrecked to think straight. I slump in a chair, trying to breathe. Meriwether's sweeping, humming that same damn tune from the forest. My head snaps up. Was it always him? No, that's crazy. But the room feels wrong, like the tower did. I notice scratches on the counter, like the ones on the ladder. My heart sinks. I've made a mistake, haven't I? I stand, muttering I need to go. Meriwether smiles, says, no rush. His voice is off, like it's layered with something else. Outside, my truck's door is open. I didn't leave it like that. I run, ignoring Meriwether calling my name. The keys are in the ignition, thank God, but the smell's worse, like rot. I start the engine, peeling out. The highway's empty, and I'm sobbing, thinking of Alohan, my dad, anyone I've let down. The hum's louder, coming from the truck bed. I glance in the rear view and see it. A shape, crouched, eyes glinting. My scream chokes off. I swerve, trying to shake it. The truck fishtails, tires screaming. I'm going too fast, but I can't stop. The shape's gone, but I feel it, heavy, like it's sitting on my chest. I think of horror movies, final girls, dumb mistakes. I'm no final girl. I'm the idiot who thought he could outrun this. The road curves, and I'm not ready. Headlights catch a deer, frozen. I jerk the wheel, and the world flips. Metal crunches, glass shatters. I'm upside down, blood in my mouth. The hum's deafening, and the smell's everywhere. I claw at my seatbelt, but it's stuck. Something moves outside, those lights, circling. My vision blurs, and I'm whispering, I'm sorry, to no one. Meriwether's face flashes in my mind, his smile too wide. Did he set me up? Doesn't matter now. I'm fading, cold creeping in. The lights are closer, shapes leaning in. They're not human, never were. My hand finds my phone, 1 bar left. I try to dial Alohan, to warn her, but my fingers slip. The screen cracks, useless. I think of the tower, that hatch, the shoe. Was I doomed from the start? The hum's a lullaby now, pulling me under. Pain's gone, replaced by weightlessness. The shapes are clearer, tall, jagged, wrong. They're waiting, patient. I want to fight, to scream, but I'm too weak. My truck's a coffin, and I'm trapped. I picture Alohan's kids, their laughter. I should have stayed home. The lights pulse, and I know what's coming. It's tragic, isn't it? I thought I was free. Darkness takes me, but not before I hear it. One last whisper, my name, like it's savoring me. The forest one, and I'm just another story nobody'll believe. My eyes close, and the hum stops. I'm gone, but something tells me this isn't the end. Not for me. Not for anyone who comes looking. Rain's pounding my windshield as I pull off the highway into Cook Forest State Park, Pennsylvania. I'm Thane Warwick, 29 years old, from Erie, New York. My beat-up Jeep's loaded with camping gear, and I'm itching to disappear for a few days. Work's been hell, bartending pays the bills, but it's draining. I heard about an old lookout tower deep in the park, still standing but barely used. Sounded like my kind of spot. Remote, quiet, a little creepy. Horror's my thing. I binge scary movies to unwind, so a spooky tower feels perfect. The park's entrance is a muddy mess, and my tires slip as I follow a gravel road. I've got no cell signal, which is fine by me. My buddy Cashin, back in Erie, thinks I'm crazy for camping alone, but he's got a girlfriend and a desk job keeping him busy. Me? I'm free as a bird, or maybe just restless. The forest smells like wet pine, and I crack my window, letting the cold air hit my face. It's refreshing, but there's an edge to it, like the woods are watching. I park at a trailhead, double-checking my map. The tower's a 3-mile hike, past a river and some cliffs. I sling my pack on, heavy with food and a sleeping bag. A faded sign warns about flash floods, but the rain's lightening up, so I'm not worried. I've camped plenty, Adirondacks, Catskills, no big deal. Still, Cook Forest feels different, heavier. I shake it off, blaming the gray sky, and start walking, boots squelching in the mud. The trail's rough, all rocks and roots. My flashlight bangs against my hip, and I'm already regretting the extra batteries I brought. They're weighing me down. I pass a ranger station, shuttered, with a busted window. Nobody's around, which suits me fine. I'm not here for small talk. Cashin warned me about weird vibes in old parks, but I laughed it off. Now, alone, his words stick a little, like a splinter I can't ignore. Dusk is creeping in when I spot the tower, a spindly frame poking above the trees. It's rusted, maybe 80 feet tall, with a ladder that looks sketchy as hell. My heart's pumping, not from the hike, but from the vibe. It's horror movie quiet, just drizzle and my own breathing. I test the ladder, it groans but holds. I'm grinning, feeling like I'm in some low-budget slasher flick, but the good kind, where you root for the guy to make it. Climbing slow, each rung slick with rain. I'm halfway up when I glance down. Big mistake. The ground's a blur, and the tower sways like it's drunk. I grip tighter, cursing myself for being cocky. At the top, I haul myself into the lookout room, a cramped box with cracked windows and a warped floor. The view's wild, trees stretching forever, but it's unsettling, like I'm too exposed up here. I drop my pack, catching my breath. The room's a mess. Cobwebs, a tipped-over chair, and carvings on the walls. Names, hearts, weird loops that don't look random. My flashlight catches one that says, "Stay awake." I chuckle, but it's forced. Kids screwing around, probably. Still, it's disturbing, like the tower's got secrets it's dying to spill. I roll out my sleeping bag, trying to ignore the damp chill settling in. Rain's tapping the roof now, steady, almost hypnotic. I heat up some chili on my camp stove, the smell grounding me. The tower creaks, metal shifting in the wind. I tell myself it's normal, but I keep my multi-tool close, just in case. Cashin's voice pops into my head, joking about Bigfoot. I smirk, but the forest's too quiet, swallowing every sound except the rain. It's eerie, and I'm starting to wonder if I bit off more than I can chew. I settle in, zipping my jacket against the cold. The carvings seem to shift in the shadows, but it's just my eyes playing tricks. I'm beat, but sleep's not coming easy. The tower feels alive, groaning like it's got something to say. I shine my light around, half expecting to see something. Nothing's there, but I can't shake the feeling I'm not as alone as I think. I lean back, staring at the ceiling, and tell myself it's just the rain messing with my head. Rain's hammering the tower, and I'm wide awake, curled in my sleeping bag. I'm Thane Warwick, 29, from Erie, New York, and this lookout in Cook Forest is giving me the creeps. The air's damp, seeping into my bones. My flashlight's flickering, which is just great. Cheap batteries, my fault. I smack it, and it holds steady, barely. The carvings on the walls, "Stay awake," look sharper in the dark, like they're mocking me. It's horror-level weird, but I tell myself it's just the storm making everything feel off. I try to sleep, but the tower's groaning like it's alive. A leak's dripping somewhere, plinking into a puddle. I drag my gear away from it, annoyed. My stove's acting up too. Won't light, so breakfast is cold jerky. I'm chewing, staring out the window, but the rain's a curtain, hiding the forest. It's too quiet. No birds, no wind. My skin's prickling, and I'm kicking myself for not checking the weather better. Cash and say I'm screwed. By morning, the rain's lighter, but the ladder's a death trap, slick as ice. I want to hike, clear my head, but slipping's a real risk. I decide to poke around the tower instead. Bad call number one. There's a hatch in the floor, rusted shut. I pry it open with my multi-tool, and a musty smell hits me, like old clothes and something sharper. I shine my light down. A crawl space, littered with junk, papers, a broken lamp, a glove. It's disturbing, like someone left in a hurry. I climb down, curiosity winning over sense. The space is tight, my shoulders brushing the walls. My light catches scribbles on the beams, more loops, like the ones upstairs, but these feel angrier, carved deep. I find a crumpled photo, faded, a ranger, smiling, but his eyes are scratched out. My stomach twists. Why is this here? I stuff it in my pocket, telling myself it's just trash, but I'm rattled, climbing out faster than I went in. Back in the lookout room, I'm jumpy. The rain's picking up again, and my pack's wet. Did I leave it near the leak? I check my food. A bag of trail mix is open, half empty. I'm careful with my stuff. Always have been. Did I screw up, or? I shake it off, but it's scary how things aren't adding up. I try my phone, still no signal. Cashin's probably chilling in Erie, clueless I'm freaking out. I laugh, but it's shaky. I decide to fix the stove, needing something normal. It sparks, finally, and I'm boiling water when I hear it. A knock, sharp, from below. My heart stops. Nobody's out here, not in this storm. I kill the stove, listening. Another knock, slower. Could be a branch, but it's too steady. I grab my multi-tool, feeling like a horror movie extra about to make a dumb move. I lean over the trapdoor, but the ladder's empty, rain blurring everything below. The knocks stop, but now I'm paranoid. I check the hatch again, making sure it's shut tight. My flashlight's dimming, and I'm cursing myself for not bringing spares. The photo's burning a hole in my pocket. I pull it out, and the ranger's face feels familiar, like a half-remembered nightmare. I shove it away, telling myself I'm losing it. The tower sways, wind howling through the cracks. It's like the place wants me on edge. Afternoon drags, and I'm stuck inside, pacing. The carvings seem to multiply. New ones, or am I imagining it? One says they see. My laugh's hollow. Vandals, right? But it's fresh, the wood still pale. I'm thinking of packing up, but the storm's a beast, and hiking now's a gamble. I picture Cashin shaking his head, calling me stubborn. He's not wrong. I sit, staring at the hatch, wondering what else is down there. The rain's a roar now, and I'm wired, jumping at every creek. My water's low. Did I drink that much? I'm careful, always measure it out. It's a small thing, but it nags, like the open trail mix. The tower feels smaller, like it's closing in. I shine my light around, catching something new. A smudge on the window, like a handprint, but too long, too thin. I blink, and it's gone. My chest's tight, and I know I've made a mistake staying here. Night's choking the tower, and I'm frozen, staring at the hatch. I'm Thane Warwick, 29, from Erie, New York, and this lookout in Cook Forest is no joke. Rain's still pounding, but it's the silence between gusts that's got me spooked. My flashlight's barely aglow now, casting jagged shadows. The carvings, they see, feel alive, like they're watching. I'm gripping my multi-tool, heart thumping so loud I'm sure the forest can hear it. Something's wrong, horror movie wrong, and I'm kicking myself for not bailing when I had the chance. A scrape cuts through the storm, slow, like metal on wood, coming from below. Not the ladder, inside the crawl space. My breath catches. I tell myself it's rats, but rats don't move like that. Deliberate, heavy. I inch away from the hatch, floor creaking under me. The air's thick, sour, like that smell from earlier but worse. I think of Cashin, how he'd laugh, then run. I'm not laughing. This is scary, and I'm way past pretending it's nothing. The scrape stops, and I'm holding my breath, waiting. Then, thump, right under the floor, like something's testing it. I stumble back, tripping over my pack. My chilican rolls, clanging loud. I curse, hard in my throat. The thump comes again, harder, and the hatch rattles. I'm picturing that ranger's photo, his scratched out eyes, and my mind screaming, "You're screwed, Thane." I jam the chair against the hatch, knowing it's useless but needing to do something. I'm at the window, rain soaking my face, looking for anything. Help, a way out. The forest's a black void, but I swear something moves, a shape too tall for a deer. My light's too weak to see far, but it catches the ladder, wet, slick, and now there's a mark, like a smear of mud, halfway up. Nobody climbed it, I'd have heard, right? It's disturbing, like the tower's playing tricks. I slam the window shut, hands shaking so bad I drop my tool. The hatch groans, wood splintering. I grab my pack, ready to bolt, but the ladder's my only way down, and it's a death trap in this storm. The thumps are steady now, like a heartbeat. I'm muttering, this isn't real, but it is. Something's in the crawl space, and it knows I'm here. I think of horror flicks, dumb moves that get you killed. I'm not dumb, but I'm trapped, and that's worse. I kick the chair tighter against the hatch. A new sound, hiss, low, like steam escaping. It's not from below, it's outside, circling the tower. I freeze, straining to hear over the rain. My light's dead now, and I'm fumbling in the dark, feeling carvings under my fingers. The hiss grows, weaving with the thumps, and I'm losing it, picturing that ranger, wondering if he heard this too. My pack's heavy, like something's clinging to it. I shake it off, but the weight stays. I'm backed into a corner, chair still braced, when the air shifts, colder, sharper. The hiss is louder, right outside the window. I don't look, I can't, but I feel it, like eyes boring into me. The hatch bucks, and I yell, "Leave me alone." It's stupid, but I'm desperate. The thumps pause, then start again, slower, mocking. I'm sweating despite the cold, and the sour smell's choking me now, like it's coming from inside me. I lunge for the ladder, figuring it's now or never. My boots slip, and I'm clinging to the rungs, rain blinding me. Halfway down, I hear it, laughter, thin and wrong, from above. My blood runs cold. I didn't leave anything up there. I'm climbing faster, but the ladder shakes, like something's following. The ground's close, but so's the hiss, echoing from the trees. I hit dirt, legs wobbling, and bolt, not caring where. The forest swallows me, rain and dark closing in. The tower's a shadow behind me, but the sounds follow. Thumps, hisses, that laugh. My pack's dragging, and I'm tripping, branches snagging my clothes. I think of the ranger, the glove, the loops carved everywhere. This place is alive, and I've pissed it off. I'm running blind, praying for my Jeep, but the hiss is everywhere, and I know I'm not alone. I'm tearing through the forest, rain stinging my face like needles. I'm Thane Warwick, 29, from Erie, New York, and I'm running for my life from that cursed tower in Cook Forest. The hiss is everywhere, slithering through the trees, and that laughter, sharp, not human, chases me. My Jeep's my only hope, but the trail's gone, swallowed by mud and dark. My pack's heavy, slowing me down, and I'm gasping, boots slipping. The horror of it hits hard. This isn't a game. I've got no light, no tool, just panic pushing me forward. Branches snap behind me, too close. I dive behind a tree, heart pounding like it'll burst. The hiss pauses, but the air's wrong, heavy, like it's holding its breath. I fumble for my keys, hands numb from cold. My Jeep's gotta be near. I park by the river, but the forest feels alive, twisting paths to trap me. I think of Cashin, how he'd say, "Told you so." I'm not laughing now. This is scary, and I'm kicking myself for thinking I could handle this place. I bolt again, mud sucking at my boots. The laughter's back, closer, like it's playing with me. I trip, face planting in dirt, tasting blood. My ankle's screaming, but I'm up, limping fast. The hiss weaves around me, and I swear I see shapes, long, bent, flickering in the rain. It's a life or death sprint, no question. I picture horror movies, the guy who almost makes it. I'm that guy, and I'm not dying here. I rip off my pack, ditching it to move faster. The river's roar cuts through the storm. I'm close. I stumble onto the trailhead, my Jeep a blurry shape through the downpour. Relief spikes, but it's shaky. The laughter's right behind me, and the hiss is a scream now, rattling my skull. I sprint, slipping, and slam into the driver's door. My keys slip, skidding under the tire. I'm on my knees, clawing for them, sobbing like a kid. Something's watching. I feel it. but I don't look back. I snag the keys, dive inside, and lock the doors. The engine coughs, then catches, headlights stabbing the dark. The hiss is deafening, pressing on the windows. I floor it, tires spinning in mud. The Jeep lurches free, and I'm laughing, hysterical, because I'm alive. The trailhead vanishes behind me, but the laughter follows, echoing in the cab. My ankle's swelling, and I'm shaking, but I keep driving, praying the road stays real. The forest blurs past, trees like claws in the rain. My headlights catch something, a figure, tall, standing in the road. I swerve, grazing a ditch, and it's gone. My chest's tight, and I'm muttering, "You're fine, Thane, just go." But I'm not fine. The hiss is softer but still there, like it's in the Jeep. I think of that ranger's photo, his scratched out eyes. Did he try to run too? I shake it off, focusing on the park's exit, lights flickering ahead. I'm almost at the main road when the smell hits, sour, like the crawl space, but sharper, like decay. It's on me, in the air. I check the rear view. Nothing, but my neck's prickling. The laughter's gone, but the silence is worse, like it's waiting. I grip the wheel, knuckles white, and spot a sign for Clarion, the nearest town. My hands are shaking so bad I can barely steer. I'm out, but it doesn't feel like freedom. The Jeep's rattling, engine whining like it's hurt. I'm pushing it too hard, but stopping's not an option. The road's empty, rain blurring everything. My phone's dead, no way to call Cashin or anyone. I'm alone, and it's disturbing how the forest seems to stretch forever, like it's not letting go. I glance at the passenger seat, my multi-tool's there. I didn't grab it, did I? My stomach drops, but I keep driving, telling myself I'm imagining things. I hit pavement, the park behind me, but the smell's stronger, clogging my throat. The hiss is a whisper now, coming from the back seat. I don't look, I can't. My ankle's throbbing, and I'm lightheaded, blood soaking my sleeve from the fall. I think of horror stories, how the monster always hitches a ride. I laugh, but it's desperate. Clarion's close, and I'm praying for lights, people, anything to break this nightmare. The road curves, and I'm holding on, but something's wrong, really wrong. I'm speeding toward Clarion, rain hammering the Jeep. I'm Thane Warwick, 29, from Erie, and I'm falling apart. The hiss is constant, curling in my ears like smoke. That sour smell's everywhere, like I dragged the tower with me. My ankle's a mess, pulsing with every heartbeat, and I'm dizzy, vision blurring. I'm telling myself I'm safe, but it's a lie. This horror's not done. It's in the Jeep, in me. I grip the wheel, praying for Clarion's lights, but the road feels wrong, like it's looping back to the forest. I spot a gas station, neon buzzing through the storm. I pull in, tires skidding, and stumble out, rain soaking me. The clerk's an older guy, gaunt, named Elton on his tag. I'm babbling about noises, shapes, and he just nods, like he's heard it before. It's disturbing, his calm, and I'm shaking, asking for a phone. He points to a payphone, broken. My gut's screaming to run, but I'm too wrecked, leaning on the counter, blood dripping from my sleeve. Elton offers me coffee, but his eyes keep darting outside. I sip it, bitter, and notice scratches on his hands, like the ones on the tower's beams. My heart sinks. I've screwed up, haven't I? I mutter I'm leaving, but he's blocking the door, casual, saying, "Storm's bad, stay put." His voice is off, layered, like the hiss. I push past, ignoring the pain shooting through my ankle. The Jeep's waiting, but the smell's worse, like something died inside. I'm back in the driver's seat, engine roaring. The hiss is louder, coming from the cargo hold. I glance back. Nothing, but my multi-tool's on the floor now, blade open. I didn't touch it. I'm sobbing, thinking of Cashin, my mom, anyone I'll never see again. The horror's real, and I'm the idiot who thought he could out-coping mechanisms run it. I peel out, gas station fading, but Elton's face sticks with me, his smile too sharp, like he knew I'd be back. The road twists, and I'm pushing the Jeep past its limit. The hiss is a scream, and the smell's choking me. I swerve, avoiding a shadow that wasn't there. My head's spinning, blood loss, maybe, and I'm whispering, "I'm sorry," to nobody. The tower, the ranger, the loops, they're all connected, and I walked right into it. Headlights catch a sign, Clarion, 2 miles. Hope flares, but it's crushed when something thumps in the back, heavy, alive. The Jeep shudders, engine coughing. I'm screaming, "No, no, no." As it stalls, rolling to a stop. The hiss fills the silence, and the smell's unbearable, like rot and metal. I grab the multi-tool, hand slick with blood. Something moves in the rear view. Eyes, too many, glinting. My chest's tight, and I'm clawing at the door, but it's stuck. The windows fog, shapes pressing in, long and wrong. I'm trapped, rain pounding like a heartbeat. The thump comes again, closer, from the passenger seat. I swing the tool, hitting nothing but air. My ankle's useless, and I'm fading, cold creeping in. I think of the ranger, what he saw before the end. Was it this? The hiss is a lullaby, pulling me down. I fumble for my phone. Dead, cracked. I want to call Cashin to say I was wrong, but it's too late. Pain's gone, replaced by numbness. The shapes are clearer, jagged, hungry, circling. I'm whispering, please, but they don't care. The Jeep's a tomb, and I'm done. I picture my bar in Erie, the regulars laughing, clueless. It's tragic how I thought I'd make it. The hiss swells, and my name's in it, like they've always known me. My eyes flutter, and I'm falling, the forest claiming me. Darkness hits, but not before I feel it. A touch, cold, final. The shapes lean in, and I'm gone. Just another fool who thought he could cheat cook forest. The Jeep's still, rain slowing, and the hiss fades, like it's satisfied. I'm not coming back, and nobody'll find me, not the way I was. The tower's waiting for the next guy, and I know it'll win again. My name's Lachlan Voss, 34 years old, and I call Pittsburgh home, though I've spent most of my adult life avoiding cities whenever possible. I've worked as a seasonal park ranger at various Pennsylvania state parks for the past decade. This summer, I accepted a position at Hickory Run State Park in the Pocono Mountains, specifically assigned to the newly renovated fire lookout tower that hadn't been regularly staffed since the 90s. The Forest Service had decided to reinstate human monitoring during peak fire season following a devastating blaze last year that satellite detection had failed to catch early enough. The lookout tower wasn't particularly remarkable, a standard 80-foot steel structure with an observation cabin perched at the top. What made this assignment unusual was its isolation. Most modern lookouts are accessible by vehicle, but budget constraints meant this one remained reachable only by a 3-mile hiking trail. The isolation didn't bother me. In fact, I welcomed it. After my experience at Allegheny State Forest 2 years prior, an incident I still couldn't fully explain or forget, I preferred minimal human contact. The nightmares from that encounter had finally begun to fade, and I told myself this peaceful fire-watching assignment was exactly what I needed. My supervisor, Regional Director Helena Merritt, gave me a brief orientation before I hiked up to the tower. "We've upgraded the cabin with solar panels and a satellite radio," she explained, handing me a thick binder of protocols. "Standard 2-week rotation. Your relief, Ranger Dawson, will arrive on the 28th. Any questions?" I shook my head, shouldering my backpack containing clothes, food supplies, and personal items. Helena hesitated before adding, "The last overnight watch we attempted here was in 2018. Ranger quit after 3 days. Said he kept hearing things. Probably just the wind and wildlife, but thought you should know." The hike to the tower took longer than expected, the trail overgrown in sections where maintenance had clearly been neglected. By the time the structure came into view, afternoon shadows had lengthened across the forest floor. The tower itself was imposing, a skeletal finger pointing accusingly at the sky. Fresh paint gleamed on the upper cabin, and new wooden steps replaced the older ones on the staircase, spiraling upward. The surrounding clearing stretched about 50 yards in each direction before dense forest reclaimed the land. Something about the abrupt transition from open space to thick trees sent an involuntary shiver down my spine. Climbing the tower with my heavy pack proved challenging, each step producing a metallic echo that seemed to carry for miles through the silent forest. Reaching the cabin left me winded but relieved. The interior was basic but functional. A desk with monitoring equipment, maps covering one wall, a small kitchenette, a narrow cot, and a surprisingly modern bathroom facilities in one corner. Large windows offered unobstructed views in all directions, making the small space feel less confining. I set down my gear and immediately began checking the equipment, finding everything operational as promised. As evening approached, I settled into my first shift, scanning the vast green expanse with high-powered binoculars, checking weather data, and familiarizing myself with the logbook left by previous spotters. Most entries were routine, but occasional notes struck me as odd, references to unusual wildlife activity and acoustic anomalies, without further explanation. The most recent entry, from the ranger who'd quit in 2018, contained just one sentence: "The forest has eyes." I dismissed it as fatigue-induced paranoia, something I understood all too well from my own past experiences. The sunset transformed the forest into a sea of shadows, darkness flowing between trees like water. With visibility reduced to zero, I switched to night protocols, hourly radio check-ins, and thermal scanning for heat signatures that might indicate nascent fires. The satellite radio crackled with my first check-in. "Tower 7 to base. All clear." Helena's voice came back immediately. "Copy, Tower 7. Remember, storms predicted tomorrow. Stay vigilant." After signing off, I prepared a simple dinner, the silence broken only by the whisper of wind against the cabin walls and my own movements. That first night, I slept fitfully, waking repeatedly to unfamiliar sounds: creaking metal, rustling leaves far below, and occasionally, something that sounded disturbingly like footsteps on the stairs. Each time I checked, I found nothing, attributing the noises to the tower settling or wildlife. By morning, exhaustion had settled deep in my bones, but the spectacular sunrise somewhat compensated for my restless night. As golden light spilled across the treetops, I convinced myself the assignment would get easier. The isolation was affecting me more than anticipated, that's all. After all, what could possibly happen in a fire tower with no history beyond a nervous ranger and some cryptic logbook entries? I couldn't have been more wrong. My second day passed uneventfully enough: routine scans, hourly reports, and documenting weather patterns. The promised storms gathered on the horizon by late afternoon, dark clouds swelling like bruises against the sky. I secured loose equipment and double-checked the emergency protocols for lightning strikes. The tower featured a comprehensive grounding system, but being essentially a giant metal rod during a thunderstorm still set my nerves on edge. As the first raindrops pelted the windows, I settled in for what promised to be a long, noisy night. The storm hit with unexpected ferocity around 9 p.m. Lightning split the sky in jagged bursts, briefly illuminating the forest below in stark relief before plunging it back into darkness. Thunder followed almost instantly, the proximity making the entire tower vibrate. During one particularly brilliant flash, I noticed something that made my blood run cold: movement on the ground, multiple shapes darting between trees at the forest edge. Not random movement, but purposeful, coordinated. I grabbed the binoculars, enhancing their night vision function, but the next lightning flash revealed only empty clearing. I must have imagined it, I reasoned. The storm was playing tricks on my eyes. Around midnight, the rain became torrential, reducing visibility to zero. The satellite radio crackled with static, Helena's voice barely audible through the interference. "All towers, emergency alert, severe flash flood warnings, landslides reported." The transmission cut out completely, leaving me isolated in the howling storm. I tried repeatedly to re-establish contact, but received only dead air in response. Cell service had never existed up here, and now my only communication link had failed. For the first time, the tower felt less like a workplace and more like a trap, suspended 80 feet above a darkened forest with no connection to the outside world. Sleep proved impossible as the storm raged on. I sat at the monitoring desk, mechanically logging weather data while fighting growing unease. Around 3 a.m., during a brief lull in the thunderclaps, I heard it, a distinctive metallic ping from the staircase. Then another and another. The rhythmic sound was unmistakable. Something was climbing the tower, deliberately placing weight on each step. I froze, rational explanations evaporating from my mind. No animal could navigate those stairs. No person would climb the tower in this weather at this hour. Yet the sounds continued, growing closer with each passing moment. Grabbing my flashlight and the bear spray I kept for emergencies, I positioned myself against the wall farthest from the hatch door that led to the stairs. The pinging stopped directly below the cabin, followed by silence so complete it seemed to press against my ears. Minutes passed, my breathing the only sound. Then came a new noise, a slow, deliberate scratching against the hatch door, as if something were testing its strength. My fingers tightened around the bare spray, eyes fixed on the handle, expecting it to turn at any moment. Instead, after several excruciating minutes, the scratching stopped. The pinging resumed, but now descending, growing fainter until lost beneath renewed thunder. Dawn brought clearing skies and the return of satellite communications. I immediately reported the communication outage, but said nothing about the nighttime visitor. How could I explain it without sounding like the previous ranger who'd fled? Besides, in daylight, with birds singing and sunlight streaming through the windows, last night's terror seemed almost dreamlike. I convinced myself it had been a raccoon or other small animal seeking shelter from the storm, though I knew no raccoon could manage those metal stairs or make sounds of that weight and deliberation. The day passed in a haze of fatigue and hypervigilance. I found myself constantly checking the stairs, startling at every creak and groan of the tower. During routine scans of the forest, I noticed something odd, a pattern of disturbed vegetation creating a rough circle around the tower's base, extending about 30 yards into the surrounding woodland. It looked almost like a perimeter deliberately cleared of underbrush in places. Nothing in my training mentioned maintenance of this sort, and it certainly hadn't been there when I arrived. I documented it with photographs and made a note in the logbook, planning to ask Helena about it during my evening check-in. As sunset approached, the satellite radio crackled to life with Helena's voice. Base to Tower 7, status report. I relayed the day's observations, including the strange clearing pattern. A long pause followed before she responded, her tone notably different. That area is not part of our maintenance schedule. Can you describe the pattern again? After I provided more details, another lengthy silence ensued. Finally, Ranger Voss, we have a situation developing that may require evacuation of all towers. Stand by for instructions within 24 hours. Maintain regular protocols, but exercise heightened awareness. The transmission ended before I could ask questions, leaving me with an unmistakable sense that she knew something about my situation she wasn't sharing. Night fell with agonizing slowness. I secured the hatch door with rope tied to the desk, a flimsy defense, but better than nothing. Every sound from outside set my nerves jangling. The whisper of wind through trees, distant animal calls, the occasional crack of branches. Around midnight, I spotted the first direct evidence that something was wrong. Flashlight beams moving through the forest, at least 3 separate lights weaving between trees about half a mile east of my position. They weren't following any trail I knew of, instead moving in an erratic pattern that occasionally doubled back on itself. Protocol dictated I report unauthorized persons, but something held me back. The lights didn't move like humans searching or hiking. There was something calculated and almost predatory about their movements. The flashlights disappeared around 1 a.m., winking out simultaneously as if on command. I maintained watch, scanning the darkened forest with both standard and thermal binoculars, finding nothing unusual until shortly before dawn. The thermal scope picked it up first, a heat signature moving along the perimeter of the cleared area, circling the tower with deliberate slowness. The signature was wrong, though, cooler than a human or large mammal should register, with a strange elongated shape that seemed to flow rather than walk. I switched to night vision but could discern only a vague outline. Something bipedal but too tall, too thin to be human, its movements unnaturally fluid. As first light broke, the figure retreated into the forest, but not before I captured several blurry photographs. Reviewing them on the monitoring screen sent ice through my veins. Though distorted and unclear, they showed a creature at least 7 feet tall, impossibly gaunt, with limbs that seemed longer than any human anatomy should allow. Most disturbing was the head, elongated and featuring what appeared to be multiple reflective areas where eyes might be. I immediately attached the images to my morning report and transmitted them to base, requesting urgent feedback. Helena's response came within minutes, not via official channels, but through a private communication line I didn't know existed. Her voice was tight with barely controlled fear. "Lachlan, delete those images immediately. Do not document what you're seeing. We're sending an extraction team, ETA 12 hours. Stay in the tower, keep the hatch secured. Do not attempt to communicate with or photograph these entities again. Before I could respond, she added, "This isn't the first sighting. What happened in Allegheny wasn't isolated." The transmission cut off, leaving me stunned. How did she know about my experience in Allegheny? I'd never mentioned it during my application or subsequent training. The hours crawled by with excruciating slowness. I followed Helena's instructions, deleting the photos, but not before saving copies to my personal device. Something wasn't right about this situation, not just the creatures, but the Forest Service's apparent knowledge of them. I dug deeper into the tower's logbook, reading between lines of mundane fire reports to find patterns, references to movement anomalies dating back decades, coordinates marking locations where biological specimens had been collected, and most disturbing, a code phrase, timber wolves, that appeared whenever rangers reported encountering tall, thin figures at the forest perimeter. Around noon, the radio came to life again, but it wasn't Helena. The voice was male, authoritative. "Ranger Voss, this is Special Resource Director Calloway. We understand you've encountered wildlife that matches our monitoring parameters. Be advised that your extraction has been delayed due to logistical complications. New ETA 2200 hours. Maintain lockdown protocols. Do not, under any circumstances, leave the tower or communicate with external parties about what you've observed." The transmission ended without opportunity for questions, deepening my unease. There was no Special Resource Director position in our organizational chart, and monitoring parameters suggested these creatures were known entities under observation. As afternoon waned, I noticed increased activity in the forest, movement between trees, flashes of pale forms darting just beyond clear visibility. They were gathering, their numbers growing as shadows lengthened across the landscape. By my count, at least 12 distinct entities now patrolled the perimeter they'd created, their movements becoming increasingly bold as daylight faded. They no longer retreated when I trained binoculars on them, instead seeming to study the tower with calculated interest. Once, one looked directly up at my window, its face, if you could call it that, a nightmarish parody of human features, with a vertical slash where a mouth should be and multiple reflective orbs embedded in pallid skin. Sunset brought new developments that shattered any remaining hope this was simply an unknown species of wildlife. The creatures began constructing something at the forest edge, a crude structure assembled from broken branches and what appeared to be animal remains. Their movements were deliberate, coordinated, displaying unmistakable intelligence and purpose. Through binoculars, I observed them arranging the materials in patterns that tickled something primal in my brain. Symbols that felt significant, though I couldn't understand why. Most disturbing was the centerpiece, what unmistakably looked like a ranger uniform, torn and bloodied, draped over the construction like a flag. As darkness settled completely, they began an activity I can only describe as ritualistic. Forming a circle around their construction, they swayed in unison, producing a sound that carried clearly to my position, a high, keening noise interspersed with clicks and something like words spoken backward. The hairs on my neck stood on end as I recognized elements of human speech distorted almost beyond recognition. They were communicating, not just with each other, but seemingly directing their performance at the tower itself. Their message became horrifyingly clear when one creature stepped forward, raising something that caught moonlight, a Forest Service badge that could only have come from a ranger. The radio crackled to life unexpectedly. Tower 7, status report. It wasn't Helena or Calloway, but someone new, a female voice tight with tension. I hesitated before responding, suspicion now fully engaged. Tower 7 reporting multiple unidentified entities engaged in organized activity at perimeter. Request immediate clarification on extraction timeline and nature of threat. A long pause followed before her reply came, each word measured. Understand your concern, Ranger Voss. Be advised situation is contained. Entities cannot climb metal structures. Repeat, cannot climb metal. Extraction team is dealing with similar manifestation at Tower 4. Maintain position. The transmission confirmed my growing suspicion. These weren't random encounters, but a coordinated phenomenon the Forest Service not only knew about, but had been monitoring for years. The assurance that the creatures couldn't climb metal provided momentary relief until I remembered the sounds on the stairs during the storm. If they couldn't climb metal, what had been ascending toward my cabin? As if responding to my thoughts, the ritual below reached a fever pitch, the keening rising to painful intensity. Then, with disturbing synchronicity, all sounds ceased. In perfect silence, every creature turned its face upward, multiple reflective eyes fixed directly on my position. What happened next defied everything I'd been told. One creature separated from the group, approaching the tower's base with fluid, unhurried movements. It placed elongated hands on the first metal rung of the staircase and began to climb. The metal sizzled and smoked where it made contact, the creature's flesh seeming to burn, yet it showed no signs of pain. "They cannot climb metal," echoed in my mind as I watched in horror. They couldn't climb metal, not without consequence, but this one was willing to suffer those consequences. It was learning, adapting, sacrificing to reach me. I frantically radioed base. "Tower 7 emergency. They are climbing. Repeat, entities can climb metal structures." The response was immediate, the voice now recognizably Calloway's, all pretense of calm professionalism gone. "Impossible. Containment parameters are based on metallurgic aversion. Get visual confirmation." I aimed my camera at the staircase and transmitted live feed, capturing the creature's agonizing but steady ascent, now joined by a second entity following the same painful path. Calloway's curse was audible before he regained composure. "Extraction team diverted to your location, maximum priority. 40 minutes ETA. Implement Protocol Blackwood immediately." Protocol Blackwood. There was no such procedure in my training or documentation. The reference hit me like a physical blow as I remembered the name from my Allegheny experience years before. Thomas Blackwood, the ranger who disappeared after documenting similar creatures. This wasn't coincidence. The Forest Service had been dealing with these entities for decades, developing protocols named after their victims. I tore through the emergency manual, finding nothing, then remembered the false bottom I'd noticed in the desk drawer. Inside was a sealed red envelope marked Blackwood Protocol. Emergency implementation only. The contents were brief but clear. In case of direct assault by non-standard biological entities, I was to activate a defense system not mentioned in any official documentation. Hidden beneath the monitoring desk was a small panel requiring a key code. The paper provided the digits, Blackwood's badge number, and date of death. Entering it revealed a switch alongside a written warning. Electromagnetic pulse will disable all electronic equipment, including communication devices. Use only as last resort when entities breach defensive perimeter. The creatures were halfway up the tower now, their progress slow but relentless, their bodies smoking where they contacted metal, yet still they climbed. I had perhaps 15 minutes before they reached the cabin. The extraction team was 40 minutes out. The mathematics of survival were simple and grim. I gathered essential supplies: flashlight, water, emergency rations, compass, map, and knife into my backpack, then used my remaining radio time to transmit what might be my final message. Implementing Blackwood Protocol. Be advised I cannot remain in tower. Will attempt to reach emergency shelter marked on sector map, 3 miles northwest. If you don't find me there. I hesitated, then finished with stark honesty. Check the trees. They like to hang their prizes high. With seconds remaining before the lead creature reached the cabin level, I flipped the switch. The effect was immediate. Every electronic device died simultaneously, plunging the cabin into darkness broken only by moonlight. From the staircase came inhuman shrieks as the electromagnetic pulse apparently caused the entities significant distress. I used their momentary disorientation to implement the second part of the protocol, chemical deterrence. The red envelope had contained a small key that opened a locked cabinet beneath the sink, revealing canisters labeled Chemical Deterrent in S7. Extreme caution. Donning the provided face mask, I cracked open the first canister and rolled it toward the hatch door, where scratching had already begun. Thick, yellowish vapor poured forth, accompanied by a smell so foul it penetrated even the mask's filtration. The scratching turned to frenzied scrabbling, followed by those same otherworldly shrieks, now retreating down the staircase. I had perhaps minutes before they recovered and attempted another approach. The protocol's final instruction was unambiguous: evacuate immediately following deployment. Deterrent effect temporary. There was only one way down, the same stairs the creatures had been climbing. Taking a deep breath, I opened the hatch door and began my descent, the second canister clutched ready in my free hand. The metal steps were covered in a viscous, oily residue where the entities had made contact, making each step treacherous. Halfway down, I heard movement resuming in the forest below. They were regrouping, preparing to intercept me once I reached ground level. I increased my pace despite the risk, knowing my only chance was reaching the ground and implementing the final phase of my escape plan before they recovered fully. The last 20 feet of stairs were the most dangerous, close enough to the ground that they could reach me if they rushed the tower, far enough that a fall would be potentially fatal. I released the second canister, dropping it directly into the clearing below. More yellowish vapor erupted, temporarily creating a protective cloud around the tower's base. Through the haze, I could see their elongated forms retreating to the tree line, their movements now jerky and distressed. The chemical affected them severely, though I couldn't count on it lasting long. The moment my feet touched ground, I oriented myself northwest and sprinted toward the forest on the far side of the clearing, opposite from where most entities had gathered. Running through unfamiliar forest at night is normally suicide, but staying meant certain death. The creatures had recovered enough to begin pursuit, their movements visible as disturbed vegetation and flashes of pale forms between trees. They moved differently than humans, not running directly but flowing around obstacles with unsettling grace, taking routes no human anatomy should allow. Their method allowed them to gain ground despite my head start. I pushed harder, lungs burning, using the compass glow to maintain direction toward the emergency shelter marked on my map. The terrain worked against me, dense underbrush tearing at my clothes, hidden roots threatening to send me sprawling with each step. Behind me, the sounds of pursuit grew closer, that distinctive clicking communication growing in volume and urgency. They were coordinating, attempting to flank me rather than chase directly. One appeared briefly in my peripheral vision, moving parallel about 30 yards to my right. Another flashed between trees ahead and left. They were hurting me, I realized with growing horror, not toward the shelter, but toward something else entirely. I changed direction sharply, abandoning the northwest, heading to break their pattern. Almost immediately, I burst into a small clearing and froze in shock. Before me stood a structure similar to what they'd built near the tower, but far larger and more elaborate. A construct of branches, bones, and what I now recognized as pieces of ranger uniforms collected over decades. Hanging from the central arch was a partial Forest Service badge, the name still legible: Blackwood. This wasn't just a territory marker, it was a shrine or trophy display commemorating their victories. And I was meant to be the next addition. The realization galvanized me. Breaking from my stunned immobility, I charged through the clearing, past their macabre monument, and back into the forest beyond. Their pursuit became frenzied, the clicking communication now interspersed with those backward-sounding words that made my skin crawl. I was running purely on adrenaline now, each breath painful, each step a victory against exhaustion. The forest thinned slightly, allowing moonlight to penetrate and improve visibility. According to my map, the emergency shelter, essentially a reinforced concrete bunker used during controlled burns, should be less than a mile ahead. Just as hope began to flicker, disaster struck. The ground suddenly disappeared beneath my feet as I plunged into a ravine hidden by undergrowth, a fall of perhaps 15 feet ending with a sickening impact that sent pain shooting through my left ankle. Not broken but badly sprained. I could walk, but running was now impossible. Above me, silhouetted against the night sky, elongated forms appeared at the ravine edge, their multiple eyes reflecting moonlight like clustered stars. They didn't immediately descend, instead pacing along the edge, studying me with what felt disturbingly like curiosity or perhaps satisfaction. They had all the time in the world now. As I dragged myself to my feet, testing my injured ankle with a grimace, one of the creatures made a sound unlike any I'd heard before, almost like laughter, but distorted as if played through damaged speakers. It was mimicking human emotion, I realized with sickening clarity. They weren't just intelligent, they were learning, adapting, perhaps even evolving through their interactions with rangers like me. Like Blackwood before me, the thought sparked a desperate idea. If they were capable of learning, perhaps they could be reasoned with or at least distracted. I reached slowly into my pack, retrieving the second chemical canister I'd taken from the tower. The creatures tensed, multiple eyes fixed on the object they now recognized as a threat. "Back," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "Stay back, or I release it." To emphasize my point, I twisted the canister's cap slightly, allowing a wisp of yellowish vapor to escape. The effect was immediate. The entities retreated several steps, their movements agitated. They understood cause and effect, threat and consequence. I had found leverage, however temporary. Using their reluctance to approach, I began moving laterally along the ravine, searching for a less steep section I could climb with my injured ankle. The creatures paced above, maintaining distance but never losing sight of me. Their coordination was unnerving. Some would disappear briefly into the forest only to reappear ahead of my position, cutting off potential escape routes. They were hurting me again, I realized. But toward what? The answer came as I rounded a bend in the ravine and saw the concrete outline of the emergency shelter half embedded in the hillside about 200 yards ahead. They were driving me exactly where I wanted to go, which made no tactical sense unless the shelter was no longer safe. The sickening realization hit as I noticed the shelter's reinforced door hanging awkwardly from one hinge, the interior dark and uninviting. They had compromised my only sanctuary, perhaps long before I'd ever arrived at the tower. This wasn't opportunistic hunting. It was a calculated operation against Forest Service personnel. I changed direction immediately, moving away from the shelter, eliciting renewed clicking and movement from my pursuers. They responded by descending into the ravine at multiple points, no longer concerned about maintaining distance now that I'd rejected their trap. With options dwindling rapidly, I made my final play. Backing against the ravine wall, I removed my pack and extracted the emergency flare I'd brought from the tower. The creatures hesitated, clearly recognizing another potential threat though not understanding its exact nature. I struck the flare, which ignited with blinding crimson brilliance, forcing the nearest entities to recoil, their multiple eyes unable to tolerate the intense light. Using their momentary disorientation, I flung the chemical canister directly into their midst, then pressed myself against the ravine wall and covered my face. The canister burst on impact, releasing its full payload at once rather than the controlled emission I'd used before. The effect exceeded all expectations. The creatures reacted as if burned, their bodies contorting in ways that defied physical possibility, elongated limbs twisting around themselves as they emitted those backward speech sounds at deafening volume. The vapor expanded rapidly, creating a temporary barrier between us. Without hesitation, I began climbing the ravine wall opposite from where most creatures had gathered, using roots and rock protrusions as handholds, dragging my injured leg behind me. Reaching the top, I found myself in unfamiliar forest, the flare's light creating a small circle of visibility around me. My compass indicated I'd been herded almost directly south of the tower, opposite from my intended direction. The chemical vapor was already dissipating, its effectiveness measured in minutes, not hours. I had to find alternative shelter before the creatures recovered or the flare died. In the distance, perhaps half a mile through dense forest, a faint glow suggested artificial light. Too steady for fire, too yellow for moonlight. With no better option, I moved toward it, maintaining the flare before me like a talisman. As I drew closer, the source revealed itself, a small cabin nestled in a clearing, windows glowing with warm lamplight. No vehicle was visible, but smoke curled from the chimney, indicating occupation. I approached cautiously, years of ranger training screaming warnings about isolated cabins in restricted forest areas. Reaching the edge of the clearing, I studied the structure more carefully. It appeared well-maintained, but decidedly old-fashioned, lacking the solar panels or satellite dishes common to modern remote dwellings. Most curious was the symbol carved into the front door, a complex geometric pattern that tickled memory. I'd seen something similar in the creature's construction near the tower. Before I could retreat, the cabin door opened. An elderly man emerged, his weathered face illuminated by the lamp he carried. He showed no surprise at finding a battered ranger at his threshold, merely nodding as if he'd expected me. "You'd better come in," he said, voice gravel rough from disuse. "They'll be regrouping soon. That chemical doesn't hold them back like it used to." The casual acknowledgement of the creatures froze me in place, suspicion warring with desperation. The man sighed, reading my hesitation. "I'm not with them, Ranger, but I've survived them longer than anyone else in these woods, including your colleague Blackwood." The name decided me. I limped forward, passing through the doorway as the man stepped aside. The cabin interior was Spartan but comfortable. A single room containing a bed, table, wood stove, and walls covered in papers, maps, and what appeared to be hundreds of sketches of the creatures in various poses and activities. The man secured the door with multiple locks before turning to me. "My name is Garrett Coleman, former Forest Service Research Division, before they shut us down in '82 for getting too close to the truth." He gestured to my ankle. "Let's tend that while I explain what you've stumbled into. We don't have much time." As Coleman applied a homemade poultice to my sprained ankle, his story spilled out in clipped, efficient sentences. The creatures, which he called mimics, had first been documented in Pennsylvania forests in the late 1960s, following unexplained disappearances of hikers and forestry workers. Initial encounters suggested non-terrestrial origin, their biology and behavior unlike anything in scientific record. A specialized Forest Service division was established to study them, with fire towers serving as perfect observation posts. Coleman had been part of that division until budget cuts and increasing danger led to official abandonment of the research. "But some of us stayed," he continued, wrapping my ankle with practiced efficiency. "We couldn't leave, not after learning what they were capable of. They're evolving, you see. Each human encounter teaches them. They started as mimics, copying our movements, our structures, even attempting our speech. But they're becoming something worse now. They don't just want to mimic humans, they want to replace us." He pointed to a map where dozens of red X's marked locations across Pennsylvania's forests. Each mark is a disappearance. Note the pattern. They're expanding their territory, establishing new colonies with each passing year. Before I could question further, a familiar sound reached us, that distinctive clicking communication, now surrounding the cabin completely. Coleman's expression hardened as he moved to a trunk near the bed, extracting what looked like modified flare guns. "They've never breached the cabin," he said, handing me one of the weapons. "The symbols keep them at bay, their own markings turned against them. But they're learning to overcome such barriers, just as they're learning to overcome their aversion to metal. We need to reach my vehicle. It's hidden about a quarter-mile east. If we move quickly while they're still coordinating." His words were interrupted by a sound that chilled my blood. 3 distinct knocks on the cabin door, followed by a voice that was almost human but fundamentally wrong, like words assembled by something that had never spoken. "Coleman, open. We talk." The old man's face drained of color. "They've never done that before," he whispered. "They've never used names." More knocking, more words. "Ranger Voss. Come out. No harm." The creatures were using our names, attempting communication directly rather than just mimicry. They were adapting strategies in real time, overcoming barriers not just physical but psychological. Coleman made a decision, grabbing a prepared backpack from beneath his bed. "We leave through the back window. The extraction team will be searching where they lost your signal. If we can reach the main road." His planning was cut short by a new sound, splintering wood as something massive struck the cabin wall. The creatures had never directly attacked the structure before, another evolution in their behavior. The impact repeated, the entire cabin shuddering. Coleman looked at me with grim resignation. "They're changing strategies faster than I've ever seen. Your presence has accelerated something. We need to split up, double their targeting problem." What followed was chaos. We exited through different windows as the creatures breached the cabin walls. I caught glimpses of Coleman firing his modified flare gun, the projectiles releasing the same chemical vapor as my canisters, but with greater concentration and effect. The forest erupted with inhuman shrieks as I limped eastward, following Coleman's directions toward his hidden vehicle. Behind me, I heard the old man shouting, drawing the majority of creatures toward himself rather than me. It was a sacrifice play, I realized with horror. He was ensuring my escape at the cost of his own survival. I found the vehicle, an ancient Jeep concealed beneath camouflage netting. exactly where Coleman had indicated. The keys were hidden in a magnetic box beneath the rear bumper, just as he'd said they would be. As I started the engine, floodlights suddenly illuminated the forest around me, powerful beams sweeping between trees as commanding voices shouted orders. The extraction team had arrived, much later than promised, but present nonetheless. Through the trees, I could see figures in specialized gear moving in formation, directed by someone I recognized from their voice as Calloway himself. I should have felt relief. Instead, as I observed their methodical movement and specialized equipment, a disturbing suspicion formed. They weren't searching for survivors or eliminating threats. They were collecting specimens, carefully subduing rather than destroying the creatures they encountered. One team had set up what appeared to be a mobile laboratory, processing samples with efficiency that spoke of long practice. This wasn't an emergency response. It was a harvesting operation using protocols refined over decades. The Forest Service hadn't been fighting these creatures all these years. They'd been cultivating them, studying them, perhaps even trying to weaponize them. The realization struck with sickening clarity. I wasn't an unfortunate victim or even a designated observer. I was bait, deliberately placed in an active tower to attract and engage the entities. My responses and their adaptations carefully monitored until extraction became necessary. How many other rangers had served the same purpose? Their encounters documented and analyzed until they disappeared or were extracted. How many had become names for emergency protocols after their sacrifices yielded new data? The badge on the creature's shrine made terrible sense. My decision was instantaneous. I wouldn't become another data point in their twisted research. I engaged the Jeep's four-wheel drive and accelerated away from the extraction team, heading east toward the nearest public road according to Coleman's maps. Behind me, shouts of alarm turned to organized pursuit. Through the rearview mirror, I glimpsed vehicles with Forest Service markings emerging from concealed positions. They'd been standing by all along, watching, waiting. The radio Coleman had installed crackled to life. "Ranger Voss, stop immediately. You're compromising a classified operation. The situation is not what you believe." Calloway's voice held no trace of the urgency from our earlier communications, just cold authority tinged with annoyance at an asset gone rogue. I switched off the radio and pushed the Jeep harder, its aging engine protesting as I navigated the rough terrain. The old vehicle was struggling, but still mobile. Unlike me, it could outrun both the creatures and their human handlers if I could just reach public land. The Forest Service jurisdiction ended at the highway, and with it, hopefully, their willingness to pursue so openly. A sudden movement to my right sent me swerving. One of the creatures had flanked me, moving with impossible speed through the forest parallel to my path. Another appeared on the left, then ahead, forcing me to brake hard and change direction. They were hurting me again, working in coordinated tandem with the human teams behind me. The realization was dizzying. Not just that the creatures were intelligent enough to coordinate with humans, but that humans had somehow established communication protocols with these entities. This wasn't just research, it was cooperation. The Jeep crashed through underbrush, frame groaning as I pushed it beyond reasonable limits. According to Coleman's map, I was less than a mile from the highway, but the forest was becoming denser, the path less defined. Something struck the vehicle's roof with enough force to dent the metal. A creature had leapt from an overhanging branch, trying to stop my escape. Claws scrabbled against the windshield, leaving deep scratches in the glass as I swerved violently, dislodging my attacker. Through the trees ahead, I caught glimpses of artificial light. The highway's illumination, so close yet impossibly distant as my path became increasingly obstructed. The Jeep's engine sputtered, then died completely, victim of either mechanical failure or some unseen damage. I was still half a mile from safety, surrounded by dense forest, hunted by both inhuman entities and a government agency willing to sacrifice its own people. My sprained ankle throbbed painfully as I exited the vehicle, knowing stillness meant capture or worse. The extraction team's lights were visible through the trees behind me, methodically sweeping the forest. Ahead lay darkness and unknown terrain, but also my only chance at escape. I limped forward, using trees for support, every step a negotiation with pain. The forest had fallen silent, no creatures visible, no clicking communication audible. The absence was more terrifying than their presence had been. They were watching, waiting, coordinating their final approach. I pushed harder, the highway's distant lights becoming my fixation, my only hope. The terrain sloped downward, becoming steeper until I was half sliding down a leaf-covered incline, barely maintaining control of my descent. The ground suddenly leveled, and I found myself on asphalt. Not the highway, but a service road running parallel to it. 20 yards ahead, the service road intersected with the main highway, streetlights illuminating the junction. So close to escape, to witnesses, to safety. I forced myself into a running hobble, ignoring the fire in my ankle, focusing only on those final yards. Behind me, pursuit crashed through the underbrush, both human and otherwise, abandoning stealth for speed. I reached the highway just as headlights appeared around a bend, a semi-truck approaching its speed. Without hesitation, I moved into its path, waving my arms frantically. The truck's horn blared as brakes squealed, the massive vehicle swerving to avoid me while still slowing. It worked. The truck stopped, its driver leaping out with concerned anger. "Are you crazy? I nearly killed you." His expression shifted as he took in my ranger uniform, battered condition, and the terror evident on my face. Before I could explain, his eyes shifted to something behind me, widening with unmistakable horror. I turned to see a nightmare tableau illuminated in the truck's headlights. 3 of the creatures standing at the forest edge, partially concealed by trees, but unmistakably present and unmistakably not human. Beyond them, the extraction team had emerged, weapons raised but hesitating now that a civilian witness was present. The truck driver fumbled for his phone, raising it to capture what he was seeing. "What the hell are those things?" he whispered, the camera clearly recording both the creatures and the armed Forest Service personnel behind them. Calloway's voice cut through the tableau. "Sir, put down your phone immediately. This is a classified Forest Service operation. You've inadvertently entered a restricted area during a containment exercise." The lie was smooth, practiced, but undermined by the visible reality before us. No exercise could explain the inhuman entities still partially visible at the forest edge, their elongated forms unmistakable even in shadow. The truck driver continued recording, backing toward his vehicle while keeping the camera trained on the scene. "Those aren't people," he said flatly. "And that's not any Forest Service operation I've ever heard of." The standoff lasted perhaps 30 seconds, though it felt like hours. Then Calloway made a decision, gesturing to his team while speaking into his radio. The creatures retreated into the forest as if commanded, disappearing from view. The extraction team likewise began a tactical withdrawal, maintaining weapons trained on us, but clearly unwilling to create a more significant incident with a witness actively recording. Calloway remained last, his expression unreadable in the harsh headlights. "Ranger Voss, this isn't over. You've compromised national security protocols established for public safety. There will be consequences." I found my voice finally, loud enough for the recording to catch. "You used me as bait. You've been using Rangers for decades. Blackwood wasn't the first, and you didn't plan for me to be the last. How many others disappeared while you studied those things? How many became protocols named after the dead?" Calloway's expression flickered, surprised that I knew so much, calculation of how to respond. He settled for a non-answer. "The program exists to contain threats beyond public understanding. Your interpretation is dangerously incomplete." With that, he too retreated into the forest, leaving me with the bewildered truck driver and his still recording phone. What followed was predictable. My story hit social media within hours, the truck driver's footage going viral despite repeated copyright claims and takedown notices from unnamed government agencies. Official statements dismissed the video as a hoax, the creatures as people in costumes participating in a training exercise. My credibility was systematically attacked. Psychiatric evaluations from my employment file mysteriously leaked, suggesting I had a history of paranoid tendencies. Coleman's cabin was found abandoned, no trace of his research or maps, as if he'd never existed. 3 months later, I sit in a small apartment in Pittsburgh, surrounded by printed copies of everything I could salvage. My own photographs, statements from other former Rangers who reached out privately after my story broke, fragments of research Coleman had hidden in locations throughout the forest and entrusted to me through encrypted messages before disappearing again. The public interest has waned, my story relegated to conspiracy theory websites and late-night podcast discussions. The Forest Service announced a modernization initiative, replacing human lookouts with automated systems in all Pennsylvania forests, ensuring no more witnesses like me. But I know what I saw. I know what's hiding in those woods, learning, adapting, evolving with each human interaction. More disturbingly, I know there are people in positions of power who aren't fighting these entities but working with them, studying them, perhaps being studied in return. Coleman's final message to me was simple. They're not contained to Pennsylvania anymore. Check the missing person statistics in national forests across the country. The pattern is spreading. I've done as he suggested, mapping disappearances, finding the same signature across forests in West Virginia, even as far west as Colorado. Tomorrow I leave for Shenandoah National Park, where 5 hikers have vanished in the past month near an abandoned fire tower. I'm meeting 2 journalists who believe my story, who have resources to investigate properly. It's dangerous. I'm almost certainly being watched, my communications monitored. But the alternative is silence while more rangers, more hikers, more innocent people are sacrificed to whatever agenda connects the Forest Service to those creatures. Before I go, I'm uploading everything I've gathered to multiple secure servers with deadman switches. If I disappear like Blackwood, like Coleman presumably has, the information releases automatically. As night falls over Pittsburgh, I find myself constantly checking the shadows of my apartment, listening for that distinctive clicking communication. Twice I've glimpsed tall, unnaturally thin figures watching my building from across the street, disappearing when I approach the window. My nightmares are filled with those vertical slit mouths, those multiple reflective eyes, those limbs that move in ways human anatomy cannot allow. But worse than the creatures themselves is the knowledge that they're not working alone, that somewhere in the government, decisions were made to study rather than destroy, to sacrifice lives rather than protect them. The most terrifying question remains unanswered. Are humans controlling these entities, or is it the other way around? When Calloway spoke into his radio, and the creatures retreated on command, who was truly giving the orders? As I pack my gear for tomorrow's journey, I keep returning to the last words I heard from Coleman before we separated in the forest. They don't just want to mimic humans anymore. They want to replace us. I fear we may already be too late. Dust kicks up under my tires as I roll into Black Machinon State Park, Pennsylvania. I'm Sigrid Luthra, 34 years old, from Cleveland, Ohio. My old Subaru's packed with camping gear, enough for a week of peace. Work's been a grind, data entry's soul-sucking, and I need this reset. I read about a fire tower here, tucked deep in the boglands, still standing but long forgotten. It's got that horror vibe I love, like something out of a creepy podcast. I'm not scared, just excited to unplug and breathe. The park's quiet, just a ranger at the gate who barely looked up. My map spread on the passenger seat, marked with the tower's spot, a 2-mile hike from the lot. I park, double-checking my pack, food, sleeping bag, flashlight. Cleveland feels a million miles away, and I'm glad. My cousin, Rohan, thinks I'm nuts for going solo, but he's busy with his new baby. Me? I'm good with my own company, always have been. The trail's spongy, moss and mud sucking at my boots. Black Machinon's weird, bogs and pines, air thick with damp. I pass a sign about rare plants, but it's the silence that grabs me, like the world's holding its breath. I've camped plenty, Hocking Hills, Cuyahoga, but this place feels off, heavy. Rohan's voice nags at me, joking about getting lost. I smirk, but it's forced. The forest's got eyes, and I'm not sure I like it. Sun's dipping low, painting the sky orange. I spot the tower ahead, a rusty spike against the clouds. It's taller than I expected, maybe 90 feet, with a ladder that looks one gust away from collapsing. My pulse picks up, not fear, just adrenaline. I'm no stranger to heights, but this thing's got a vibe, like it's waiting for me. I test the first rung. It holds, creaking. I'm grinning, feeling like I'm stepping into my own scary story. Climbing slow, metal cold under my hands. Halfway up, I make the mistake of looking down. The bog's a dark smear, and the tower sways, just enough to make my stomach flip. I focus on the top, hauling myself into the lookout room. It's small, walls pitted with rust, windows cracked. The view's unreal, miles of marsh and trees, but it's unsettling, like I'm too high, too alone. I drop my pack, catching my breath. The room's a time capsule, a busted radio, a chair with 3 legs, and scratches on the walls. Names, dates, weird slashes. One says, "Keep moving." I laugh, but it's thin. Probably teens messing around, but it's got a disturbing edge. I unroll my sleeping bag, picking a corner away from the leaks. The air's chilly, smelling of metal and moss. I'm beat, but the tower feels alive, creaking like it's got something to say. I cook ramen on my camp stove, the hiss grounding me. The bog's black now, swallowing the last light. I think of Rohan, how he'd hate this quiet. He's all city noise, not like me. I live for wild places. Still, the ranger's face sticks with me, how he didn't meet my eyes. Small town weirdness, I tell myself. I sip my noodles, but the scratches keep pulling my gaze, like they're deeper than they should be. Night settles, and the tower groans louder, wind rattling the windows. I check my flashlight, battery's good, thank God. I'm not scared, but I'm not dumb either. My pocket knife's close. The bog's silent, no frogs, no owls. It's horror movie still, and I'm starting to wonder if I misjudged this place. I zip my jacket, telling myself it's just the cold messing with me. Sleep's calling, but I'm wired, eyes on the dark. I lie down, staring at the ceiling. More scratches up there, too many to be random. My light catches one, a spiral, fresh-looking, like it was carved yesterday. My chest tightens, but I shake it off. Imagination's a beast out here. Still, I keep my knife in hand, just in case. The tower sways, and I'm thinking maybe Rohan was right. Maybe solo wasn't the move. I close my eyes, but the dark feels heavier than it should. Wind's howling through the tower, and I'm up, heart racing. I'm Sigrid Luthra, 34, from Cleveland, Ohio, and this lookout in black machinons got me rattled. My sleeping bag's damp, leaky roof, my bad for not checking. My flashlight's solid, but the beam makes those scratches keep moving. Look alive, like they're crawling. It's creepy as hell, pure horror flick stuff, but I'm telling myself it's just the dark playing tricks. Still, I'm wide awake, knife in hand, listening to the bog's eerie quiet. Morning's gray, fog curling over the marsh like smoke. My stove's acting weird, flames weak, barely heating my coffee. I fiddle with it, cursing, and settle for lukewarm sludge. The tower's colder than last night, and I'm stiff, regretting not bringing a thicker mat. I want to hike, explore the bog, but the fog's thick, hiding the trail. Rohan say stay put, but I'm antsy, itching to move. I'm not some rookie spooked by weather. I decide to check the tower's lower deck instead, dumb move number 1. The ladder's slick, rungs loose, and I'm gripping tight, cursing my curiosity. Below the lookout room's a platform, cluttered with junk, rusted cans, a torn map, a single boot. My light catches something, scratches, like upstairs, but these are frantic, gouged deep. It's disturbing, like someone was trapped. I'm thinking of that ranger, his blank stare. Did he know this place was bad news? I climb back up, pulse hammering. My coffee spilled, mug tipped over. I'm careful, never leave stuff like that. My pack's shifted too, zipper half open. Did I bump it? I check my food. A granola bar's gone, wrapper and all. My stomach knots. I'm not careless, not out here. It's scary, like the tower's messing with me. I try my phone. Dead, no surprise. Rohan's probably sipping espresso, oblivious I'm freaking out. I laugh, but it's shaky. The fog's not budging, so I'm stuck. I sketch the view to calm down, but my pencil keeps slipping, lines jagged. The scratches seem sharper now, more spirals, like they're multiplying. I'm losing it, aren't I? To distract myself, I repack my gear, noticing my water's low, way low. I measure it daily, no way I drank that much. It's a small thing, but it's horror level wrong, like something's tampering with my stuff. By noon, I'm pacing, the tower creaking under me. I hear it. A hum, faint, like a radio left on. It's not wind. It's steady, coming from below. I freeze, straining to hear. It stops, but my skin's crawling. I'm thinking of packing up, hiking out, fog or not. But I drove 6 hours, and I'm stubborn. Rohan roll his eyes, call me a mule. Still, I check my knife, make sure it's sharp. The hum's back, softer, like it's waiting. I try the stove again, needing normalcy. It flares, then dies, out of fuel, even though I packed enough. I'm muttering, Come on, Sigrid. When I see it. A mark on the window, smudgy, like fingers dragged through grime. It wasn't there before. My chest tightens. Kids, maybe? But it's fresh, and I'm alone. I wipe it, but the glass feels warm, wrong. The hum's louder, vibrating the floor, and I'm starting to think I've made a big mistake. I'm jumpy now, checking corners like a paranoid fool. The scratches look deeper, one spelling run. I laugh, nervous, not funny. Vandals, right? But the wood's too clean, like it was carved today. I'm torn, stay or go. The fog's a wall, and hiking blind's risky. I picture Rohan shaking his head, saying I'm too damn curious. He's not wrong. The tower feels smaller, like it's squeezing me. Afternoon's fading, and I'm wired, knife clutched tight. The hum's constant, buzzing in my teeth. My water's nearly gone. No leaks, no spills. It's not possible, but it's real. I shine my light around, and for a second, the scratches shift, like they're moving. I blink, it's fine. But it's not. The bog's too quiet, and I'm kicking myself for thinking this trip was a good idea. Something's off, and it's not just me. Darkness grips the tower, and I'm crouched by the window, knife shaking in my hand. I'm Sigrid Luthra, 34, from Cleveland, Ohio, and Black Machinons turned into a nightmare. The hum's a growl now, rattling the walls. My flashlight's dim, barely cutting the black. Those scratches, run, seem to glow, like they're laughing at me. It's horror movie bad, and I'm cursing myself for staying. The bog's silent, but I'm not alone. I feel it, like a weight on my chest, and I'm scared, no shame in admitting it. A thud hits below, heavy, like a body dropping. Not wind, not branches, too deliberate. My breath's stuck, and I'm gripping the knife so hard my knuckles ache. The hum spikes, vibrating my skull. I crawl to the trapdoor, peering down the ladder. Nothing, but the rungs are wet, smeared with something dark. My stomach lurches. This is scary, way past weird vibes. I'm thinking of Rohan, how he'd tell me to get out. I want to, but I'm trapped. Another thud, closer, from the lower deck. I slam the trapdoor shut, shoving my pack against it. My heart's a drum, and I'm muttering, "You're fine, Sigrid," but I'm not. The hum's everywhere, like it's inside me. I flash my light around. The scratches are sharper, new ones curling into shapes I can't unsee. It's disturbing, like the tower's writing its own story, and I'm the punchline. I'm kicking myself for touching that junk downstairs. The air turns cold, sharp, like a freezer. I'm at the window, fog pressing against the glass, when I hear it, breathing, slow and wet, right outside. My skin crawls. I don't look, I can't. The breathing stops, but the hum's louder, joined by a tap, tap, tap on the roof. Not rain, too steady. I'm picturing horror films, the part where the idiot checks the noise. I'm not that idiot, but I'm frozen, knife useless against whatever's out there. The trapdoor bucks, pack sliding. I yell, "Go away." Dumb, but panic's driving. The thudding's constant, like footsteps circling below. My light catches something, a shadow, long, jerking across the wall. I blink, and it's gone, but my throat's tight. The tower's alive, hating me. I'm thinking of that boot, the map, wondering if someone else got stuck here. The breathing's back, closer, like it's tasting the air. I'm scrambling, stuffing gear in my pack, ready to bolt. The ladder's my only shot, but the taps are faster, circling the tower. My light's fading, and I'm cursing those cheap batteries. The hum's a scream now, and the scratches look wet, like they're bleeding. It's horror level wrong, and I'm not waiting to see what's next. I kick the pack aside, yank the trapdoor open, and freeze. Something's moving down there, slow, deliberate. I'm on the ladder, slipping, rain blinding me. The breathing's above now, following. My boots hit a rung, and it bends, nearly dumping me. I'm sobbing. "Come on, Sigrid," clinging tight. The bog's a black pit below, but the hum's in my bones, urging me down. I glance up. Nothing, but I feel eyes, heavy, hungry. The taps stop, and the silence is worse, like it's waiting for my next mistake. I hit the ground, knees buckling, and run, bog sucking at my feet. The tower looms behind, but the breathing follows, weaving through the fog. My pack's dragging, like something's hooked on. I'm tripping, branches clawing me, and the hum's a pulse, guiding something closer. I think of the ranger, his empty stare. Did he know? I'm not stopping, aiming for my Subaru, but the bog feels wrong, like it's shifting under me. The breathing's louder, right at my neck. I swing my knife, hitting air, and keep running, mud swallowing my boots. The tower's shadow fades, but the hum's relentless, and I'm sure I see it. Eyes, pale, floating in the fog. My chest's burning, and I'm praying for the trailhead, but the bog's a maze, and I've screwed up, haven't I? Something's here, and it's not letting me go. I'm crashing through the bog, mud sucking my boots like quicksand. I'm Sigrid Luthra, 34, from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm running from that hellish tower in Black Mashinon. The hum's a roar, shaking the ground, and the breathing's right behind me, wet and close. My Subaru's my only shot, but the fog's a wall, hiding the trail. My knife's useless, flashlight gone, and my pack's dragging like it's alive. This is horror at its worst, and I'm kicking myself for ever thinking this trip was smart. I'm gasping, praying I don't trip again. Branches tear at my face, and I'm bleeding, but I don't stop. The breathing's a growl now, circling me. I dive behind a stump, chest heaving, and fumble for my keys. The bog's alive, roots snagging my legs like hands. I think of Rohan, how he'd lose it if he saw me now. It's scary, no lie. I'm in a life or death mess. The hum's in my head, urging me to move. I bolt, mud splashing, hoping the trailhead's close. I'm weaving through pines, the breathing's so near I feel it on my neck. I swing my knife, hitting nothing, and keep running. My ankle twists, pain shooting up, but I'm not stopping. The fog parts, and I see it. My Subaru, a gray blur. Relief hits, but it's shaky. The hum spikes, and eyes flicker in the dark. Too many, too wrong. It's disturbing, like they're hunting me. I'm sprinting, slipping, keys slippery with sweat and blood. I slam into the car, door yanking open. The breathing's everywhere, clawing at my ears. I dive in, locking it, and jam the keys in. The engine sputters. Please, not now. It catches, headlights slicing fog. The hum's deafening, vibrating the seats. I floor it, tires spinning, bog spitting me out. I'm laughing, wild, because I'm alive, but the breathing's still there, faint in the car. My heart's pounding, and I'm not safe, not yet. The trail's a blur, mud spraying. My ankle's screaming, and I'm lightheaded, blood soaking my sleeve. The fog's thinning, but the hum follows, like it's stitched to me. I think of horror movies, dumb moves, last-second traps. I'm not dumb, but I'm terrified. The breathing's softer, but it's wrong, like it's waiting. I check the rear view. Nothing, but my neck's prickling. The park's exit's gotta be close, right? I hit a rut, Subaru lurching. My phone's dead, no way to call Rohan. The hum's a pulse, and I swear the windows fog from inside. I wipe them, hands shaking, and see it. A shape, tall, darting past. I scream, swerving, but it's gone. My chest's tight, and I'm muttering. Keep it together, Sigrid. The bog's behind me, but it feels like it's stretching, pulling me back. A sign for Phillipsburg flashes. Real world, safety. The breathing's a whisper now, curling in the cab. I'm pushing the car too hard, engine whining. My headlights catch scratches on the hood. New, deep, like claws. My stomach drops. Did I hit something? No time to check. The hum's softer, but it's tricky, like it's playing possum. I'm almost at the highway, lights ahead, but my hands won't stop shaking. I'm out, but it's not over, not by a long shot. Phillipsburg's close, street lights cutting the dark. The breathing's gone, but the hum lingers, low, like a threat. My ankle's numb, and I'm woozy, blood pooling on the seat. I think of that ranger, his blank stare. Did he know what lives here? I'm gripping the wheel, telling myself I made it. But the car feels wrong, heavy, like something's riding with me. I laugh, desperate, and keep driving, praying for normal. I'm on pavement, bog fading, but the smell hits, rotten, like the tower's junk pile, but worse. It's in my clothes, my hair. The hum's a tickle, coming from the trunk. I don't look, I can't. My knife's on the seat, blade catching light. Wasn't it in my pocket? My throat's dry, and I'm thinking of Rohan, how I promised I'd call. Phillipsburg's here, but I'm not free, and I know it deep down that I'm rolling into Phillipsburg, streetlights harsh after the bog's dark. I'm Sigrid Luthra, 34, from Cleveland, and I'm a wreck. The hum's faint but there, like a heartbeat in the Subaru. That rotten smell's choking me, thick as tar. My ankle's useless, blood sticky on the seat, and I'm dizzy, vision swimming. This horror's not done. It's followed me, curled up in the car. I'm whispering, "You're okay," but it's a lie. I need help, People, anything to break this nightmare. I pull into a diner, neon flickering. I stumble out, limping, and barge in. A waitress, Mara, stares. My face must be a mess. I'm babbling about eyes, noises, and she sits me down, voice soft but eyes sharp. It's disturbing how she keeps glancing outside. I ask for a phone. She says it's out back. My gut screams to leave, but I'm too weak, collapsing in a booth, blood dripping on the floor. Mara brings water, but her hands are scratched like the tower's walls. My heart sinks. I've messed up, haven't I? I mutter I'm going, but she's close, too close, saying, "Rest, Han." Her voice hums like the bog's pulse. I lurch up, knocking the glass, and hobble out. The Subaru's waiting, door open. I didn't leave it like that. The smell's worse, spilling from the trunk. I'm sobbing, knowing I should have stayed in Cleveland. I'm back in the car, engine coughing. The hum's loud, coming from behind me. I glance back. Nothing, but my knife's gone, not on the seat. I'm screaming, "No, no," as the smell chokes me. I think of Rohan, his kid, how I'll never meet her. This horror's real, and I'm the fool who walked into it. I peel out, diner fading, but Mara's face sticks. Her smile, wrong, like she knew I'd run. The road's empty, Phillipsburg shrinking. The hum's a roar, and something shifts in the trunk. Thump, heavy. My hands shake, and I'm swerving, headlights catching fog that shouldn't be here. I'm whispering, "I'm sorry," to Rohan, to myself. The tower, the scratches, Mara. They're tied, and I'm caught. A curve looms, and I'm too slow, too gone. The Subaru spins, metal screaming as I hit a guardrail. I'm upside down, glass biting my skin. The hum's deafening, and the smell's alive, crawling over me. I'm clawing at my belt, but it's stuck. Eyes glow outside, pale, endless, circling. My voice cracks, calling for Rohan, but he's not here. Mara's face flashes, her scratches matching the ones in my head. Did she send me back? Pain's fading, cold taking over, and I know I'm done. The car's a coffin, creaking. The thump's closer, inside, under the seats. I'm numb, blood pooling, and the eyes are clearer, jagged, hungry. I think of the boot, the map, warnings I ignored. It's tragic how I thought I'd win. My phone smashed, no call to Rohan, no goodbye. The hum sings my name, like it's always known me. I'm slipping, and they're waiting. I'm gone, but not before I feel it, claws, cold, pulling. The shapes close in, and the hum's a lullaby, final. Black Machinon's got me, another story nobody'll believe. The Subaru's still, fog swallowing it, and I'm not coming back. Rohan'll wonder, but he'll never know, not the truth. The tower's out there, hungry for the next one. Darkness takes me, and the hum stops. The bog's quiet, satisfied, like it planned this all along. My name's on those scratches now, isn't it? I'm part of it, and the next fool's already coming, thinking they're smarter. They're not. The tower wins, always does, and I'm just its latest mistake. Gravel crunches under my tires as I pull into Ricketts Glen State Park, Pennsylvania. I'm Callista Marrow, 27 years old, from Rochester, New York. My rusty Honda's stuffed with camping gear, ready for a solo escape. Retail's been killing me, endless shifts, rude customers, and I need this break. I found a blog about an old Ranger lookout tower here, half abandoned, perfect for a thrill. I'm into horror novels, the spookier the better, so this tower's calling my name. It's a chance to unplug, maybe feel something real. The park's gate is open, no one around. I park near a trailhead, the air sharp with pine and damp earth. My map shows the tower's a mile in, past waterfalls. I sling my pack on, food, tent, flashlight, and lock the car. Rochester's a blur now, and I'm glad. My roommate, Elton, laughed when I said I was camping alone, but he's glued to his Xbox. Me? I'm chasing quiet, or maybe adventure. The trail's steep, rocks slick from recent rain. Ricketts Glen's gorgeous, falls crashing in the distance, but it's heavy, like the air's got secrets. I've camped before, Finger Lakes mostly, but this feels wilder, raw. Elton's joke about bears sticks in my head, and I pat my bear spray, just in case. The forest's quiet, too quiet, and I'm wondering if I overhyped this to myself. Still, I'm pumped to see the tower. Dusk is creeping in, sky bruising purple. The tower pokes through the trees, a spindly frame, rusted and leaning like it's tired. It's maybe 70 feet, ladder intact, but sketchy. My heart's racing, not scared, just jazzed. I'm picturing horror stories, the kind where the hero's cocky until they're not. I test the ladder, it creaks but holds. I climb, grinning, feeling like I'm sneaking into somewhere I shouldn't. The lookout room's a wreck, dusty, with broken windows and a sagging floor. I drop my pack, catching my breath. The view's insane, falls glinting, forest stretching forever, but it's creepy, like I'm too high, too seen. I unroll my sleeping bag, picking a dry spot. The walls are scratched up, names, arrows, one saying, "Don't stay." I chuckle, but it's forced. Teens, probably, but it's got a horror vibe I can't shake. I dig out my stove, craving hot food. The tower groans, wind whistling through cracks. I'm thinking of Elton, how he'd hate this. No Wi-Fi, no beer. A ranger drove by as I parked, didn't wave, just stared. Small town stuff, I guess. I heat soup, the smell grounding me, but the scratches keep catching my eye, deeper than they should be. My flashlight's ready, and I'm telling myself it's just a cool spot, nothing more. Night falls fast, stars sharp through the busted windows. The forest's dead silent, no owls, no wind. It's horror movie still, and I'm starting to wonder if I misread this place. I check my knife, keep it close. The tower sways, metal pinging like it's talking. I laugh, calling myself jumpy, but my gut's twitching. I sip my soup, eyes on the dark, feeling like I'm not as alone as I planned. I settle in, sipping my jacket. The scratches look weird in my light, some fresh, wood pale. One's a spiral, almost deliberate. My pulse picks up, but I shake it off. Imagination's a jerk out here. Still, I'm gripping my knife tighter, just in case. Elton's voice echoes, saying I'm reckless. Maybe he's right, but I'm here now. The tower creaks louder, and I'm thinking sleep's gonna be a fight. I lie back, staring at the ceiling. More scratches up there, too many to be random. My light catches one, they wait. My laugh's thin, nervous. It's nothing, right? But the forest's too quiet, and the tower feels alive, like it's watching. I tell myself I'm fine, just tired. Still, I keep my flashlight on, beam cutting the dark, and wonder if I've bitten off more than I can chew. Wind's rattling the tower, and I'm awake, clutching my knife. I'm Callista Marrow, 27, from Rochester, New York, and this lookout in Ricketts Glen's got me on edge. My sleeping bag's damp, roof's leaking, my bad for not checking. My flashlight's flickering, cheap thing, and those scratches, they wait, look sharper in the dark. It's horror-level creepy, but I'm telling myself it's just the night messing with me. Still, I'm wired, listening to the forest's dead silence, heart thumping too loud. Morning's foggy, mist curling off the falls like ghosts. My stove's being a jerk, won't light, so breakfast's cold granola. I'm chewing, staring out the window, but the fog's thick, swallowing the trail. I want to hike, feel the ground under me, but getting lost isn't on my list. Elton say chill, but I'm restless, itching to do something. I'm no newbie camper, but this place feels wrong, heavy. I decide to poke around the tower instead, dumb choice number one. There's a trapdoor to a lower level, rusted but loose. I pry it open, and a stale smell hits. Dirt, metal, something sour. My light shows a cramped space. Old ropes, a cracked helmet, papers rotting in a pile. The walls are scratched, like upstairs, but these are wild, overlapping, like a fight. It's disturbing, like someone lost it down here. I'm thinking of that ranger stare, did he know? I climb out, pulse racing. My granola's spilled, bag torn open. I'm careful, always zip my stuff. My pack's moved, too, closer to the trapdoor. Did I nudge it? I check my gear. A water bottle's half empty, cap loose. No way I drank that much. I'm strict about rations. It's scary, like the tower's playing games. I try my phone, dead as expected. Elton's probably gaming, clueless I'm rattled. I laugh, but it's weak. The fog's not lifting, so I'm stuck. I try sketching to calm down, but my hands shake, lines all wrong. The scratches seem darker, more spirals, like they're growing. Am I imagining it? I repack my bag, noticing my soup can's dented, didn't drop it. It's horror movie subtle, and it's freaking me out. I'm thinking of Elton, how he'd say I'm paranoid. Maybe, but I'm checking my knife anyway, making sure it's ready. By noon, I'm pacing, the tower groaning under me. I hear it. A click, sharp from below. Not wind, too precise. I freeze, ear straining. Another click, slower. Could be pipes, but it's too rhythmic. I'm picturing horror novels, the part where you ignore the signs. I lean over the trapdoor. Nothing, but the smell stronger, like wet rot. My chest's tight, and I'm wondering if I should have stayed in Rochester. I try the stove again, needing normal. It sputters, barely catching. Low fuel, even though I packed extra. I'm muttering, "Come on, Callista," when I see it, a smudge on the window, like a palm, but too narrow. It wasn't there yesterday. My throat catches. Kids? But it's fresh, and I'm alone. I scrub it, but the glass feels off, sticky. The clicks are louder, echoing below, and I'm starting to think I've screwed up big time. I'm jumpy, checking the trapdoor like it'll bite. The scratches look new. One says go now. I snort, nervous, not amused. Vandals, sure, but the wood's too raw, like it's still bleeding sap. I'm torn, stay or hike through fog. It's risky either way, and I'm stubborn. Elton called me a fool, and he's not wrong. The tower feels tighter, like it's closing in, and the clicks are steady, like they're counting down. Afternoon's fading, and I'm wired, knife in my grip. My water's lower, no spills, no leaks. It's impossible, but it's happening. The clicks blend with a hum, low, like a machine waking up. I flash my light around. The scratches shift, or my eyes do, curling into shapes that make my skin crawl. The forest's too still, and I'm cursing myself for picking this spot. Something's off, and it's not just the fog. Night's got the tower in a choke hold, and I'm backed against the wall, knife shaking. I'm Callista Marrow, 27, from Rochester, New York, and Ricketts Glen's turned into a horror show. The hum's a buzzsaw now, vibrating the floor. My flashlight's fading, shadows twisting those scratches, go now, into something alive. The air's thick, like breathing mud, and I'm sweating despite the cold. It's scary as hell, and I'm kicking myself for not running when the fog was lighter. Something's here, and it's not playing. A scrape cuts the dark, slow, from under the trapdoor. Not pipes, not wind, too sharp, like nails on bone. My heart's slamming, and I'm gripping my knife, wishing I'd listened to Elton. The hum's louder, crawling up my spine. I inch toward the trapdoor, stupid but desperate, and peek down. The ladder's empty, but there's a mark. Wet, dark, like oil. My stomach flips. This is disturbing, way past weird noises. The scrape's back, joined by a thump, heavy, right below. I slam the trapdoor, shoving my pack against it, but it's flimsy defense. My light catches the scratches. They're deeper, new ones spelling "see you." I'm muttering, "No way, Callista," but it's real. The hum's in my teeth, and I'm thinking of horror novels, the part where you know you're screwed. I'm that girl now, and I hate it. The thump's steady, like it's climbing. I'm at the window, fog choking the falls, when I hear it. A moan, low, like pain stretched thin. It's outside, circling. My skin's prickling, and I'm not looking, can't. The moan stops, but the hum's a pulse, and the scratches glint, wet, like they're fresh. I'm picturing that ranger, his cold eyes. Did he hear this? My pack's heavy, like something's clinging, and I'm cursing myself for touching that helmet downstairs. The trapdoor rattles, wood creaking. I yell, "Get out!" Pointless, but I'm losing it. The thumps are faster, circling the lower deck. My light's nearly dead, and I'm fumbling, catching a shadow, bent, too long, darting across the wall. I blink, it's gone. The tower's alive, hating me, and I'm trapped. The moan's back, closer, like it's tasting my fear. I'm not waiting to meet it. I'm done. I'm stuffing gear in my pack, hands shaking so bad I drop my stove. The hum's a scream, and the scratches look like eyes now, staring. It's horror movie wrong, and I'm not sticking around. I kick the pack off the trapdoor, ready to bolt, when the moan turns sharp, right outside the window. My throat's tight, and I'm whispering, "Please, no." The thumps pause, then hit harder, like they're laughing at my plan. I'm at the ladder, slipping on rungs, fog blinding me. The moan's above, following, and the hum's in my bones. I'm halfway down when the tower shakes, like something heavy landed. I'm sobbing, "Come on, Callista," clinging tight. The ground's close, but the moan's closer, weaving through the dark. My boots hit dirt, and I run, pack dragging, not looking back. The forest's a maze, and I'm already lost. The falls roar somewhere, but the hum drowns it, chasing me. The moan's everywhere, like it's in the trees. I'm tripping, branches clawing my face, blood in my mouth. My pack's heavier, like it's fighting me. I think of the ranger, the papers, warnings I ignored. This place is wrong, and I've pissed it off. I'm aiming for my Honda, but the fog's a trap, and the thumps are back, right at my heels. I'm sprinting blind, the moan a blade at my neck. My light's gone, knife all I've got, and it's useless. The hum's a voice now, hissing my name. I see eyes, red, flickering, in the fog. My chest's burning, and I'm praying for the trailhead, but the forest feels alive, shifting to keep me. I'm not alone, never was, and I know I've made a terrible mistake coming here. I'm tearing through the forest, branches snapping at my face like teeth. I'm Callista Marrow, 27, from Rochester, New York, and I'm running from that cursed tower in Ricketts Glen. The hum's a thunderclap, shaking the earth, and the moan's right behind me, sharp as a blade. My Honda's my only hope, but the fog's a cage, twisting the trail. My knife's in my hand, useless, and my pack's dragging like it's got claws. This horror's real, and I'm cursing myself for thinking I could handle this place. I'm gasping, legs burning, praying I don't fall. The moan's closer, weaving through the trees like smoke. I dive behind a rock, heart slamming, and fumble for my keys. The fall's roar is faint, no help in finding the trailhead. My face is bleeding, scratched raw, but I'm up, sprinting again. The hum's in my skull, urging me on, and I'm thinking of Elton, how he'd freak if he saw me now. It's scary, pure life or death, and I'm not ready to lose. I ditch my pack, lightening my load, and keep moving. I'm stumbling, fog choking everything. The moan turns guttural, almost words, and I swing my knife, hitting air. My ankle's screaming, twisted, maybe worse, but I limp faster. I see it. My Honda, a shadow through the mist. Relief spikes, but it's fragile. The hum's deafening, and red eyes flicker, closing in. It's disturbing, like they're hurting me. I'm at the car, keys slipping, and I'm sobbing, begging it to open. Something brushes my back, cold, and I scream. I dive inside, slamming the door, and jam the keys in. The engine sputters. God, no. It catches, headlights stabbing fog. The moan's outside, clawing the windows, and the hum's shaking the seats. I floor it, tires spinning on wet leaves. The trailhead vanishes, and I'm laughing, wild, because I'm not dead yet. But the moan's still there, faint, in the car. My ankle's throbbing, blood soaking my jeans, and I'm not out of this horror show. The trail's a mess, rocks banging the undercarriage. My headlights catch shapes, tall, jerking, then they're gone. I'm muttering, "You're fine, Callista," but I'm not. The hum's softer, but it's tricky, like it's waiting. I think of horror novels, the twist where you think you've won. I'm gripping the wheel, knuckles white, aiming for the park's exit. The moan's a whisper, curling in my ears, and I'm praying for pavement, for people. I hit a ditch, Honda lurching. My phone's dead, no way to call Elton. The fog's thinning, but the hum's still there, like it's stitched to me. I glance at the rear view. Nothing, but my neck's prickling. A sign for Red Rock, the nearest town, flashes by. My chest's tight, and I'm bleeding bad, dizzy now. The ranger's stare pops into my head. Did he know what's out here? I'm pushing the car, engine whining, desperate for safety. The moan's gone, but the hum's a pulse, coming from the back seat. I don't look, can't. My knife's on the floor, blade open. I didn't leave it like that. My stomach drops, and I'm thinking of the scratches, the papers. Was I doomed from the start? The road's smoother, Red Rock close, but the car feels wrong, heavy. I'm laughing, scared, telling myself I made it. But deep down, I know this isn't over. I'm almost at town when the smell hits, sickly, like rot and rust, spilling from the trunk. It's the tower's stink, clinging to me. The hum's louder, vibrating the dash. I wipe fogged windows, hands shaking, and see scratches on the glass, inside. My throat's dry, and I'm picturing Elton, how I swore I'd be fine. Red Rock's lights glow, but I'm not free, not even close. Something's with me, and it's patient. Pavement hums under my tires, but the smell's worse, choking me. The hum's a voice, low, saying my name. I'm speeding, too fast, but stopping's death. My ankle's numb, and I'm fading, blood pooling. I think of horror endings. Nobody escapes clean. I'm not clean. Red Rock's here, and I'm praying for a crowd, a cop, anything normal. But the car's too quiet, and I know I've brought something out of Ricketts Glen. I'm rolling into Red Rock, lights blurry through blood and tears. I'm Callista Marrow, 27, from Rochester, and I'm falling apart. The hum's a heartbeat, thumping in the Honda, and that rot smells alive, crawling up my throat. My ankle's gone, just pain, and I'm woozy, vision doubling. This horror's got me, dragged from the tower like a trophy. I'm whispering, "You're okay," but it's bullshit. I need help, now, but the town feels wrong. Too still, like it's waiting for me to screw up again. I pull into a gas station, tires screeching. I stumble out, blood dripping, and barge inside. The clerk, Gideon, freezes. Guess I look like death. I'm ranting about eyes, moans, and he nods, too calm, offering a rag. It's disturbing, his steady stare, like he's seen this before. I beg for a phone. He points to a booth, lines cut. My gut's screaming, but I'm swaying, collapsing on a stool, knife still in my fist. Gideon's wiping the counter, humming, same damn hum as the forest. My heart sinks. I've fucked up, haven't I? His hands are scratched, like the tower's walls, and I'm shaking, muttering I'm leaving. He smiles, says, "No rush, miss." His voice is off, layered, like the moan. I lurch up, knocking a soda can, and hobble out. The Honda's waiting, trunk ajar, I didn't touch it. The smell's a wave, and I'm gagging, knowing I should have stayed home. I'm in the driver's seat, engine choking. The hum's a roar, coming from everywhere. I glance back, nothing, but my knife's gone, not in my hand. I'm sobbing, thinking of Elton, his dumb grin, how I'll never see it again. This horror's mine now, and I'm the idiot who thought she could run. I peel out, gas station fading, but Gideon's eyes burn in my head, like he knew I'd bolt straight to hell. The road's a tunnel, red rock shrinking. The hum's alive, and something thumps in the trunk, slow, heavy. I'm screaming, swerving, headlights catching fog that's not right. I'm whispering, "I'm sorry," to Elton, to myself. The tower, Gideon, the scratches, they're one, and I'm caught. A bend comes fast, and I'm too weak, too slow. The Honda flips, glass shattering, metal screaming as I'm thrown. I'm hanging, belt cutting my chest. The hum's deafening, and the smell's a shroud, wrapping me tight. Blood's in my eyes, and I'm clawing, but the door's jammed. Eyes glow outside, red, endless, closing in. My voice is gone, just a whimper for Elton. Gideon's smile flashes, his scratches alive. Did he set me up? Pain's fading, cold rushing in, and I know I'm done. The car's a grave, creaking. The thump's inside, under me, alive. I'm numb, blood pooling, and the eyes are clearer, sharp, starving. I think of the helmet, the arrows, clues I missed. It's tragic, believing I'd outrun this. My phone's smashed, no call to Elton, no warning. The hum's my name, over and over, like it owns me. I'm slipping, and they're ready, so ready. I'm gone, but not before I feel it. Teeth, cold, claiming. The shapes swarm, and the hum's a hymn, final. Ricketts Glen's won, another tale nobody'll buy. The Honda's still, fog eating it, and I'm not coming back. Elton'll search, but he'll find nothing. Not me, not truth. The tower's out there, waiting, always waiting. Darkness hits, and the hum's silent. The forest's full, satisfied, like it planned my end. My name's on those scratches now, carved deep. I'm part of it, and the next fool's coming, thinking they're tough. They're not. The tower takes, always will, and I'm its latest ghost, lost forever.